hybrid of spiritual plants cultivating immortality. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51 Tree Man. Chen Jing was not unprepared when he went down the mountain this time. Since he had already defeated Jing Lion and Lin Zhu, he would either live in peace or face a stronger opponent. However, preparation is preparation. It is impossible to say that he is not panicking at all when facing the old Bidden and the Zuanian period. After all, the opponent can make countless mistakes, and he can say goodbye to the world as long as he is hit once. Chen Jing skillfully used multiple illusions to confuse his opponent and threw out 2 Earth Escape talismans to make it look like he was running away. He actually wanted to run away, but he didn't dare. It is known that the Tankio period cannot beat the Zuanian period, so it is concluded that the Tankio period can only use the Earth Escape talisman to escape. This is a clear card. The opponent cannot help but defend. So when the first Earth Escape talisman was broken, Chen Jing was not surprised at all. Of course, his heart was inevitably sunk. Then, it was his first misjudgment. The second Earth Escape talisman was unattended, and he really ran away. Chen Jing almost shed tears. How much do you look down on me? Is it just a defense? Damn it, if I had known earlier, I would have really run away. I was too cautious and missed the opportunity to escape. Since he couldn't run away, Chen Jing's fighting style was to go head on. His main body was ready to go, and his spiritual consciousness was incarnated to create opportunities. However, this was his second misjudgment. Chen Jing didn't expect that his pretentious words could actually make Old Master Qi give up his killing intention. In his opinion, Old Master Qi was just pretending to leave to lower his vigilance. Maybe he had already discovered that his main body was nearby. As expected of an old man like Old Bidden, he was very thoughtful and paid attention to details. Old Master Qi, who had to sneak attack, even if he was one major realm lower, had left an impression of being rigorous, meticulous, thoughtful, and so on in Chen Jing's mind. He would never be easily fooled. So, the moment Old Master Qi turned around, Chen Jing attacked brazenly. No matter how you fight, you have to take a beating from me first. The Zuanian period spell that the chili sword came with went straight to the sky. When Chen Jing saw that Old Master Qi was hit by the chili sword in midair, he didn't react for a while. Huh? No, are we fighting wits and courage with the air again? The huge gap made Chen Jing's mentality almost unable to recover. After recovering, he suddenly felt that he was fine. The advantage is mine. I can kill back. Chen Jing continued to hide. Both the enemy and I have spiritual consciousness, and reconnaissance and counter-reconnaissance are at the same level, so the cloud and smoke illusion technique is not so easy to be discovered. He also took the opportunity to play the third escape talisman. I ran away again. Do you believe it or not? Of course, Old Master Qi didn't believe it. He had been fooled several times. Whoever believed it would be a fool. He endured the injury and stood in the clouds, sweeping the surroundings with his spiritual consciousness. At the same time, he took out many pills, talismans, and magic weapons from the storage bag and activated them beside him. Swoosh. Suddenly, the spiritual consciousness swept to a place of movement, followed by a stream of light flying over. Old Master Qi waved his hand and a powerful magic power to knock down the stream of light, only to find that it was just an illusion, and then another stream of light shot out from another direction. He didn't dare to be careless and slapped it down again, but it was still an illusion. Where did this kid get his top-notch illusion? Old Master Qi's face was gloomy, and he regretted it very much. He thought that the mortal enemy of the Yang family was about to die, and now he encountered an event that the inner city nobles had no time to take care of, which was a good opportunity to take off. First, kill the Yang family and take back everything he had lost. Then, using the excuse of the chili sword, he would also take down the Chen family, which had recently become famous and was said to be rich. With land and money, there was no need to worry that the Qi family could not return to the top. I never thought. Swish. Another stream of light. This time the trajectory even surprised him, and it was not good. The next second, the surrounding golden armor artifacts shattered. The exploding fragments crossed his old cheeks. Old Master Qi was furious, and he mobilized all his magic power, bombarding everything around him indiscriminately. Young man, if you don't come out, I will kill your whole family. One after another, clones were blown out and fled in all directions. Facing so many targets, Old Master Qi's hidden sword fell into chaos again. He hated this damn illusion, but he understood the situation and flew away on his sword at the first time. Okay, if you don't run, I will. Chen Jing was dumbfounded. No, it's okay to sneak attack with advantage, but running, how can you have the nerve? This old deng is seriously injured, and I delayed him for a while, wasting the golden period of treatment. He will definitely not be able to run far at this time. I pretend to chase him. When he sees that the situation is not good, he will definitely ambush me. I just need to show a flaw and I can delay for a while. Instantly calculated the action steps in my mind. Chen Jing transformed into a phantom turtle, each of which had a fake body sitting on it, and chased after it in a mighty manner. The real body was carefully hanging behind. Old Master Qi's breath was fluctuating. If he flew at full speed, his injuries would be aggravated. But if he didn't fly at full speed, he would be caught up. He pretended to be seriously injured and fell from mid-air. In order to make it realistic, he really fell. He was already half dead and almost died. Chen Jing saw this scene from afar. Although his heart was moved, he didn't dare to move. He would rather fight wits and courage with the air than take risks himself. Under the temptation of the illusion, Old Master Qi couldn't resist the teasing, and he was exposed. He was teased and had to flee again. The two chased and fled for 3 days and 3 nights without closing their eyes. Finally, Old Master Qi couldn't hold on any longer and sat down against a big tree. His breath was extremely weak, his injuries were incurable, his magic power was completely exhausted, and he was about to die. I didn't expect that. After practicing for a lifetime, I survived the rise and fall of the Yang family, but in the end, I died at the hands of an irrelevant junior. Junior, if you are willing to promise not to vent your anger on the Qi family, I'm willing to kill myself here. The surroundings were quiet. Old Master Qi looked sad. I will never lie to you. As long as you promise, I will kill myself immediately. Okay. The voice came. Chen Jing walked slowly and said, I know you are really exhausted, but I also know you still have a chance to fight. His preparation for going down the mountain was not external things. He just learned about all aspects of the Zuanayan monks in detail with Teacher Zaya. People stand at the top of the food chain, not by being stronger than tigers, more agile than cheetahs, or having thicker skin than wild boars. People can occupy an absolute dominant position, and the advantage at the information level cannot be ignored. Chen Jing realized, when he went to the Jiachang mountain alone to fight wild beasts at fighting, is all about taking the initiative. To take the initiative, one needs to fully understand. One fully understands the Zuanayan cultivator, but the other party does not understand oneself. This is the biggest reason for the other party's defeat. The so-called Zuanayan, also known as the foundation of the Tao, can be used at any time at the cost of collapsing the foundation of the Tao, and a move of destroying both the jade and the stone can be used. Let me see it. Chen Jing looked at the as-hen face of Old Master Qi and waved his hand. I'll give you a chance to attack. Don't care whether I'm an illusion or not. You have no choice anyway, right? As you wish. Old Master Qi's eyes were sharp, his beard and hair were all stretched, and suddenly he became shining. He realized that everything about him was disintegrating from the root. At the same time, he was unprecedentedly powerful, but unfortunately it was uncontrollable. At this moment, Chen Jing in front of him used a spell. One of the 3 major spells passed down by the Chen family. The growth promoting spell. This is. Old Master Qi was puzzled, and then a strange feeling spread throughout his body. He looked down. His skin slowly cracked, and the tender green branches broke his bones, greedily sucking the flesh and blood in his body. Even the crumbling foundation was covered with circles of roots, happily extracting nutrients. No, under Chen Jing's gaze, Old Master Qi turned into a huge tree. Chapter 52 Secondary Hybridization and New Ideas. Looking at the living, half-human half-tree monster in front of him, Chen Jing had many doubts in his mind. Why is it not a mushroom? Mushrooms belong to fungi. When they mature, they eject spores. Spores germinate to form mycelium. When the mycelium reaches physiological maturity, it grows into mushroom fruiting bodies under suitable environmental conditions. There is no reason for it to become a big tree. What did you do to me? The big tree made a frightened voice. Why did I become like this? Monster, you are a monster. I know you are anxious, but don't worry, I will help you find out what's going on. Chen Jing said kindly to comfort him. He summoned the hybrid book. In the hybrid book, under the illustration of the deformed spores, a new subpage appeared, named Sub-Body Control. When the hybrid deformed spores grow to maturity, they still have intelligence, but the intelligence no longer has the priority control over the sub-body. The control belongs to the owner of the hybrid book. Sub-body, Qi Dengfeng, Level 3, current main body, copper skin tree. A demon tree with extremely strong resistance to attacks. It likes blood. Its root system is well developed and pointed at the end, and it can move quickly underground, often using its roots as a means of attack. When necessary, it can pull out the roots and slowly move and migrate. Current sub-body, Yuan Rice Limited. Chen Jing pondered. He had used various spiritual plants to hybridize with distorted spores, and the main body was mainly spores, but under the overbearing effect of distorted spores, hybridization was no different from no hybridization. But now, he found a problem. The distorted spores seemed to be a hybrid variety. The mycelium of the mushroom grew up to become a copper skin tree. This method of forcibly blending two unrelated things together was very similar to his own hybridization book, and there was a similar description when he first obtained it. The spore variants from Jushin mushrooms have traces of artificial intervention and transformation. They can lurk in the bodies of living beings and combine with the flesh and blood of living beings. After being stimulated by specific information, they grow rapidly, grab all nutrients in the bodies of living beings, and turn them into food for growth. The distorted spores of the hybrid species were used by me for hybridization. Secondary hybridization. Chen Jing opened the door to a new world for a while. He realized that he had overlooked a lot of operations. However, the biggest inspiration is not secondary hybridization. He didn't come up with this thing. It's purely because of the current environment. It's not suitable for honest farming. The real inspiration is that hybrid seeds seem to be used for more than just creating economic value. It can also make sharp blades and knives. Who said that farming must be planted on the ground, and who said that hybridization must be the hybridization of two plants? Old Master Qi. Chen Jing finally found some time to deal with the giant tree man who was at a loss, and said, I can't solve this problem of yours for the time being, but if you are willing to cooperate with me in the experiment, it should be able to speed up the progress. Dang, seriously? Old Master Qi shook the crown of the tree, shaking off many leaves. Of course. Chen Jing looked around and said, it's just right. Since we are here, let's go to the secret realm. During the 3 days and 3 nights of the chase, Old Master Qi kept running deep into the 9-layered mountain, intending to use the complex environment here to get rid of him. Old Master Qi was stunned and said, secret realm? It means Xuanjing. Chen Jing came back to his senses and explained. Yes. Old Master Qi did not dare to resist, nor could he resist, and honestly searched in the 9-layered mountain. Do you know anything about the Xuanjing secret realm in the 9-layered mountain? Chen Jing asked. I have been trying to contain the old enemy of the Yang family, so I dare not show up in public. I can only find out some marginal news. It is said that the Xuanjing secret realm in Jiachang Mountain is related to the legendary Jushin mushroom. Go on, I'm listening. Jushin mushroom is known as the 10 evils in Jiazhou. It has brought disasters to Jiazhou again and again. The last time it appeared was when the Divine Dynasty collapsed. Fortunately, the ancestor of the Qingnang sect was born and divided the Jushin mushroom and suppressed it. This is how we have peace now. So, Jushin mushroom is not dead. The 10 evils are immortal and can only be suppressed, not killed. Really? Chen Jing understood and said, so, this Xuanjing is one of the places where Jushin mushroom was suppressed in the past? Most likely. During the conversation, a thick spore fog rose in the forest, and the sunlight that came in became dark and green. From time to time, the skeletons of wild animals with rotten meat appeared on the roadside, which was very eerie. Chen Jing held his breath, and the spiritual energy around him turned into a faint shield to isolate the tiny spores. In sight, the hybrid book kept lighting up, and a large number of categories were added to the column of deformed spores in the illustrations. Deformed spores copper skin tree body progress 100%. Deformed spores carnivore plant body progress 21%. Deformed spores venom fruit body progress 33%. The plant world is so colorful. Chen Jing felt a chill down his spine. Originally, he only knew that these spores were floating everywhere. Now he knows more. Looking again, it's like a dream back to Goose City. The whole street is full of rifle bullets. These guns and cannons are currently only used by some people, but they have been distributed to everyone. Erosion, spirit rain, black box, spores. Chen Jing was connecting these clues. Suddenly, Old Master Qi interrupted and said, "Young man. Ahem. Chen Jing, you see something seems wrong in front." "What's wrong?" Chen Jing looked in the direction of the voice. Then, he took a breath of cold air. In front of him, under the illusory hole like clouds and water waves, a phantom of a giant tree was vaguely emerging. That was exactly what the entrance to the Xuanjing secret realm looked like. In front of the entrance, there stood a tree man who was even bigger than Old Master Qi. The tree man had dense crowns and leaves, like a lid covering the sky, not letting in any sunlight, creating a huge shadow. In front of him, countless smaller tree men and other various plant men were neatly lined up. This group of tree men was like an army, ready to fight. Gilu. Chen Jing was frightened. Fortunately, when I was fighting with Old Master Qi just now, I didn't alarm these tree men, otherwise we would have died on the spot. Wait, what am I afraid of? I'll just paint them in batches. Thinking of this, he was immediately eager to move. With the hybrid book, he could turn all the hybrid tree men here into his own army, by replacing the hybrid spores. Try it. A bicycle can become a motorcycle, a Ferrari, and an aircraft carrier. Chen Jing's heart was pounding. But when he saw the terrifying number, he shrank back. Batch painting consumes a certain amount of cultivation and time, among which time is the biggest limitation. He has no doubt that, if he is not careful, he will be stabbed to death by the roots of a tree man. If the illusion does not work on the tree man, he will die faster. It is better to be safe. Old Master Qi, I will give you a glorious and arduous task. Chen Jing patted the guy's rough bark and said, "You, go and join them." "Ah, old man." Old Master Qi's branches trembled all over, and he said in disbelief, "Me, and them? Don't worry, if I'm right, it will be easy for you to join them." Chen Jing set instructions for this guy with a hybrid book, then clapped his hands and smiled. "Go, wait for me to contact you. Thank you for your recommendation votes, monthly tickets and rewards." Bang 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 bang. Chapter 53, Husky and the Wolf Pack. Old Master Qi gritted his teeth and reluctantly approached the army of tree people. He wanted to resist, but when the thought came up, he realized that he could not control himself. At the same time, any behavior that violated Chen Jing's orders would not be implemented by his body. Old Master Qi didn't understand that his body was no longer clean. Rustling. He moved closer at a snail's pace, and then the eyes formed by the wrinkles of the bark of the huge tree man in the center opened and looked at this side. At the same time, the mutated plant people all over the mountains turned their heads towards this side. Old Master Qi almost turned around and ran, but his body did not move. "Who are you?" The tree man who looked like the leader spoke. He did not answer. "It seems that you are the one who has just mastered the blessing of the Lord of Heaven. Child, come closer to me." The leader tree man was very friendly, and a branch with large leaves hanging from the sky gently stroked his head. At such an old age, being killed by a touch on the head, Old Master Qi was extremely resistant. In order to prevent himself from being humiliated for no reason again, he took the initiative to cooperate and asked hurriedly, "What's going on? How did I become a tree demon? You should understand. Think about it carefully." The words of the leader tree man carried a strange power, and the surrounding thick green spore fog rolled, as if there was an invisible vortex, pulling his soul into the depths. Old Master Qi fell into a semi-sleeping state. Indistinctly, he seemed to see himself when he was a child, and the steward of the Ying family came to collect food. As the eldest son of the family, he has enjoyed preferential treatment that most people will never enjoy in their lifetime since he was a child. But such a noble self, as well as his father and elders, have to bow to the steward of the inner city, watching the steward wantonly trampling on their dignity with ridiculous reasons. In front of that person, everything in his family, all that he was proud of, was humbled to the dust. He was full of confusion and frustration in his heart. He couldn't wait to ask his father, "Is the Qi family a tenant of the Yang family? Why do we sell our own products so cheaply to the inner city nobles? Why do we have to kowtow to them?" My father said that we are not tenants of the nobles, and the nobles do not need tenants. He asked, "If that is the case, why do we have to accept this injustice?" His father's answer was, "What kind of injustice do you want to accept? Unfair, unfair." Old Master Qi murmured, "Why, it must be unfair." The memories continue. From the beginning of understanding the truth to the helm of the family, one familiar and unfamiliar figure after another flashed by. There were jealous words from relatives, envious eyes from one's own vassals, and arrogant laughter when the Yang family rose. No matter what, from the beginning to the end, my life has been devoted to one thing. Make the family stronger, make the family rise. So that one day, even after dozens or hundreds of generations, the descendants of the Qi family can no longer ask why they have suffered such injustice. Remember it? The voice of the chief tree man pulled him back from his memories. He said, "This is a blessing bestowed on us by the Lord of Heaven, which gives us the power of revenge." Woo! All the tree people raised their heads and made low hums of suppressed deep hatred. However, Old Master Qi just felt strange. There was no empathy at all. He did not recall the so-called hatred from the methods of the chief tree man. It was not that he had no object of hatred, but today he had a new enemy. Instead, he recalled the original intention of his practice and struggle. And under the cleansing of that wonderful power, this original intention became stronger. Lord of Heaven has boundless magic power. Old Master Qi did not dare to say anything, so he could only echo it against his will and hum deeply. It was like a husky mixed in with a wolf pack. Chen Jing did not wait for the results of Old Master Qi's inquiries. After releasing Old Master Qi, he concentrated on collecting various types of deformed spores and unlocking them. After collecting them, he carefully left Jiachang Mountain from another location. He had a rich harvest on this trip. In Old Master Qi's storage bag, the 3rd level flying sword Kang Feng and the 3rd level magic weapon Zuan Timu were the biggest windfalls of this trip. In addition, there were some elixirs, 2nd level magic weapons, talismans, etc. left in the storage bag. Added together, it was equivalent to more than 300 bottles of Ninghuadan. There is nothing better than meeting a noble person when going out. Chen Jing put all these good things in his pocket, identified the direction, and went straight back to the city. After briefly asking about the recent situation, he went out of the city. The mutated spores need to be planted on people, so what can I plant with other spiritual plants as the main body, and mutated spores as the auxiliary? Chen Jing found a remote farmland that had just been reclaimed in the eastern part of the city, took out a special hoe from the storage bag, and started to hoe the land. The hoe of the spiritual plant husband is actually a magic weapon. It can help the spiritual plant husband to conduct the spiritual power in his body more smoothly to the depths of the earth, and connect the underground spiritual veins. Every inch of land actually has a ground vein. It's just that, if the concentration of the ground vein does not reach a certain standard, it needs long-term and high-frequency maintenance to keep the ground vein spiritual power continuous. It takes about 5 years to maintain it naturally. This is the journey of the spiritual plant husband family to open up wasteland, and each family is more or less the same. But if you don't pursue large-scale and long-term development, just a whole experimental field, just find a place that is not too bad. After some hard work, Chen Jing reclaimed a spiritual field of about 5 square meters. The spiritual power of the earth vein barely reached the level of a low-grade spiritual field. If it was left alone, it would quickly degenerate without the erosion rain, but it was enough for experiments at this time. Hybrid book, let me see your limit. The hybrid book opened. In a series of illustrations, 2 of them were selected separately and slowly merged together. Deformed spores, Copper skin tree, spiritual beef tendon copper skin grass, 1 star, a new variety hybridized with beef tendon grass and deformed spores, copper skin tree. On the basis of the original beef tendon grass, a new growth method was added, which significantly enhanced its lethality, but the normal growth conditions also became harsh. Labels 1, 2, self-improvement, well-developed root system. Label 3, parasitic combination. Plant 1 first. Chen Jing had an intuitive understanding of the hybrid book, but intuition alone was not enough. The experiments that should be done, and the paper data that should be obtained were still necessary. This is called professionalism. He first planted the spiritual tendon in the original place, and used the growth promoting technique to pull up the seedlings and make it grow quickly. Then he replaced it with spiritual power, and obtained the newly hybridized tendon copper skin grass. The main change in the appearance of the tendon copper skin grass is that the color changes from turquoise to black-green. Chen Jing pulled it up by the roots, and it didn't even move at the first pull. He used some spiritual power to bless it before pulling it up. The roots of the tendon copper skin grass under the soil were like tentacles, still squirming in the air. When it touched Chen Jing's arm, it instantly wrapped around him, and the sharp root thorns pressed against the skin, intending to pierce it. What a demonic species. Chen Jing's face changed slightly. He shook it hard twice, but he couldn't get it off his hand, and his skin felt a stinging pain like a needle. This is just a castrated version made by the growth promoting technique. If it were an ordinary person, the skin would have been pierced. Chapter 54, A New Path. So what's the use of this thing? Chen Jing rolled the ox tendon copper skin grass into a ball, held it in his hand, and observed it repeatedly. There is no doubt that the new hybrid spiritual plant has no economic value at all. Even if it is hybridized with other economic spiritual plants, it cannot increase its original economic value. Its only function is to fight. Throw it out, and it can scratch people. Obviously, this function is not great. As far as he knows, the wealthy families all have relatively complete puppet warrior spells that can summon younger brothers, and he has seen it several times. When he first met Ua Kingsha, she enlightened the giant tree on the roadside and turned it into a wooden man to fight and attract people's attention. After that, the special training battle for betting on spiritual stones, which once suppressed Chen Jing, was also a puppet warrior. The standard basic combat suit for practitioners, 4 major items: offensive magic weapon, protective magic weapon, puppet warrior, and spiritual talisman. If it's just this level, it's completely useless. Try another ability. After a lot of ravages, the roots of the ox tendon copper skin grass were no longer so energetic. Chen Jing took the initiative to cut a hole in his hand and put it next to the roots. The roots smelled the blood and immediately perked up. The root tentacles quickly absorbed nutrients from the wound. Item 3, parasitic combination. A strange feeling spread in his heart. Chen Jing watched closely. After the cow tendon copper grass absorbed nutrients, it began to wither, and then completely withered and died, while the remaining roots were all immersed in his arm. The veins on his whole arm were bulging, which was frightening. Absorbing my flesh and blood, spiritual power, but also becoming a part of me, so that's how it feels. Chen Jing's mind moved. With a puff, the skin on his arm burst open, and the sharp flesh tentacles suddenly pounced forward, tightly wrapping around a hard stone 3 meters away from him, which was used as a cushion for his buttocks. Then he stirred it hard. Crack. The nearly half-zang round stone broke into pieces. Chen Jing swept his wrist, and the flesh and blood roots twisted and hugged each other, turning into a whip, and smashing it hard, pressing a deep whip mark in the soil. He looked at the marks left by the blow on the soil, and then glanced at the broken stones beside him. I have a misunderstanding about the power of this thing. Chen Jing was very surprised. With just these 2 blows, he could fight against ordinary soul-enriching cultivators head-on. If he met a martial arts master, he might be able to fight. It would not be so good against a master of the Tankyo stage, but it is hard to say when the 2 are too close. In terms of consumption, it is negligible for me now. If it were a soul-enriching stage, I could attack with all my strength about 10 times. If it were immortal, I could attack 3 times. If it were more, I would be in danger. Chen Jing roughly estimated the consumption. With a thought, the tentacles in his arm were all retracted, and the torn skin did not leave any wounds, but the skin color became a little darker. Chen Jing then used his spiritual power to simulate blunt and sharp weapons to bombard his arms, adding layers of pressure. In addition to the root piercing, the copper skin tree is stronger in its own defense. He gradually increased the strength of his spiritual power and found that his skin was indeed immune to some of the spells of the copper skin tree, and its physical resistance to blunt and sharp weapons was also outstanding. Roughly speaking, this set of protective shields can resist swords and weapons on ordinary people. It seems pretty good, although this one is useless to me. Chen Jing finished the experiment. He cut his arm again, and with a shock of spiritual power, he expelled the tendon copper skin grass from his body, and violently annihilated it with spiritual power, leaving no trace. This thing needs to be nourished by blood and spiritual power at all times. Although it is not much, it is not necessary. The key is that the increase is not large. It is a chicken rib for a cultivator in the Tankyo period. The most suitable one should be immortal, but even if I replace it with other spiritual plants as the main body, it greatly weakens the negative effects of parasitism. But even so, can the mortal body be nourished? Chen Jing pondered. In addition to whether the mortal body can bear it, there is another big problem. This thing will grow, constantly absorbing nutrients from the human body to become stronger. Once a mortal is unable to make ends meet, it will be finished sooner or later. At this time, he suddenly thought of peon rice. Peon rice has a negative entry, which is slow growth. Negative entry, maybe it's useful. With peon rice as the main body, it is obviously milder than with cattle grass as the main body. Hey, wait. Chen Jing suddenly realized that peon rice is a necessary food for ordinary people to enter the spiritual cultivation. Just like the essence of cattle grass is tenacious survival, the essence of peon rice is spiritual accumulation. If it is hybridized and parasitized with mortals, can mortals directly use it to enter the practice and start spiritual accumulation? A line of big words appeared in his mind. Mass production of hybrid spiritual plant cultivators. If it works. Chen Jing raised his head and looked at the large tracts of land that were reclaimed by the disaster victims in front of him. A crazy idea rose in his heart. If I have countless spiritual cultivators, I can turn every inch of land in Jiuzhou into spiritual fields and plant spiritual plants. Plant to the ends of the earth. Plant to the heavens and the worlds. The entire Anning prefecture. The mastermind behind the scenes, Fengshan sect, is doing performance art. The wealthy family intends to dominate the city alone. The small cultivation families are fighting each other, hoping to move up a level. The mortals beg for life. Chen Jing also has a trivial goal, to plant hundreds of millions of acres of land first. There is a lot of potential for spiritual plant cultivation. Who says that people can only parasitize one spiritual plant? As long as you can afford it, it's okay to parasitize 17, 80 or 9. He became more interested. He took out the seeds, used the growth promoting technique, and started the follow-up experiments. He stayed up all night for several days. Chen Jing worked very efficiently and tinkered with a series of plant cultivation hybrids. He also conducted experiments on his own body to determine the relevant data. After summarizing, under the current conditions, this is the most appropriate way. First, with peking rice plus man-eating flower spores as the foundation, let the mortal step into the soul-enriching period and gain the ability to perceive spiritual power. In addition, the man-eating flower spores enhance the digestive ability, which is very suitable for early development. During this period, if there is a need for combat and the body can bear it, you can plant spiritual beef tendon plus copper skin tree spores, that is, beef tendon copper skin grass, to improve combat power. In the soul condensation period, it is not advisable to plant more than 2 spiritual plant spores. After breaking through the soul condensation period and entering the opening acupoint period, you can remove the first 2 and replace them with moon condensation tree spores as the foundation, so that the plant cultivator naturally has the ability to absorb the power of the moon and quickly improve his cultivation. In addition, the opening acupoint period can accommodate 3 spores for 3 spores cultivation. If there are spores of spiritual plants with different attributes, filling the 5 internal organs may be faster than normal collection of spiritual power. Normal cultivation involves refining elixirs, taking drugs, and this and that, while spiritual plants are generally born with them, and fusion into the body is equivalent to being born with them. As Chen Jing unlocks more spiritual plants, the types that can be loaded for plant cultivation will become richer. Just as he was obsessed with scientific research and was keen on creating a path for cultivation that ordinary people could also ascend to, a person he had never met before came to him. "It's you. Why haven't you been collecting fines recently?" Aang Huayan pretended to pass by countless times. She approached again and again. Finally, at a time she thought was appropriate, she happened to walk beside Chen Jing, inadvertently recognized Chen Jing, and asked the above question. Chen Jing looked at the woman in front of him silently. She was dressed in white, not stained with dust, with cold eyes and an indifferent expression. "Girl, you don't have to act if you don't have talent. I almost thought you were a bad guy and chopped you off with a sword." This chapter did not pass the review. What's the situation? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55, Mature. Aang Huayan obviously didn't know that the silent man in front of her had already completed multiple rounds of battles in his heart, preset all positions, and formulated more than 3 tactics. She felt that it was normal for her to ask casually. Many people on the roadside would ask if they had eaten and how they were doing recently after meeting each other. Everyone greeted each other in this way. "Hello." Seeing that Chen Jing didn't respond, she asked again. "I think we shouldn't be very familiar with each other," Chen Jing said. "Ah." Aang Huayan's eyes flashed a brief confusion, but fortunately she had practiced facial paralysis for many years and didn't show too much. She was stunned in place, then turned around and left silently. It was a mistake. It turned out that you have to get along well before asking questions. "Wait a minute." Chen Jing called the other party. Go over there. Don't step on my spiritual plants." "Sorry." Aang Huayan bypassed the spiritual field opened by Chen Jing and found a place to stand not far away. This made Chen Jing speechless. He had divine sense to detect and illusion to cover, so he dared to do experiments outside without fear of being discovered. But being watched closely by other cultivators is not a big deal. Fortunately, the experiment is almost done, so it's time to call it a day. Chen Jing kept his head down and dealt with all the traces. Then he came to Aang Huayan and said, "Who are you? What's the matter?" "My name is Aang Huayan. Are we familiar with each other now?" "Half done." Chen Jing looked at the expressionless face of the other party and felt that half done was also a stretch. If it weren't for his delicate appearance, this expression alone would be enough to make the person communicating with him feel dissatisfied. "I want to ask you why you don't go to post a ticket," Aang Huayan asked curiously. "Chen Jing, you have to be fully cooked before you can ask. Then when will you go to post a ticket again? You have to be 60% cooked before you can ask. How can you be familiar? Don't ask me anything today. It will be 60% cooked tomorrow. Then I'll come to you tomorrow." Aang Huayan got a positive answer and left without looking back. His figure quickly disappeared from sight. Chen Jing breathed a sigh of relief. The inexplicably curious baby. The key is that her tone of questioning is very cold, and there is a sense of weirdness that the AI assistant greets her earnestly with a synthetic voice. This kind of player who does not play by the rules is always difficult to deal with. Aang Huayan. I have never heard of it. His surname is Aang, and his cultivation is not low. I don't know what his relationship with the Aang family in the inner city is. Chen Jing was confused. Seeing that no one ambushed him, he returned to the city with disappointment. At the same time, Aang Huayan disguised herself and pretended to be a mortal, walking in the disaster area outside the city. She has an awkward status in the tribe and cannot receive normal education and teaching. In her daily interactions with the tribe members, she is often excluded and treated differently. From childhood to adulthood, she mostly stayed alone in her own small courtyard, thinking about making and drawing talismans. Although as she grew older and had more contact with the outside world, she had an understanding of some things, but she still made low-level jokes from time to time. Huayin could only go home and get hurt silently and reduce communication as much as possible. But it's not a big problem. She's used to it. I usually draw talismans to earn spiritual stones for cultivation and rarely see the outside world. Now is a good time to see it. Huayin walked around the surrounding disaster-stricken areas. The disaster-stricken people in the south and north of the city were in a mess. They lived in dirty and dilapidated places and lived a life of material poverty. Most of them lay on the ground and rarely moved or gathered together to keep warm. A small number of them were full of fighting spirit and violence, forming gangs to fight. This place reminded her of some things in the past. Although her material life was better, the future was also depressing. Then came the Huayin society, which Huayin felt completely puzzled. There was a happy atmosphere there, but she was inexplicably repelled. Although she occasionally lacked common sense, she unexpectedly understood the human heart, especially the dark side of the human heart like a beast. She could not see the evil thoughts in people's hearts here, and it seemed that the good and evil sides were integrated into one. Finally, it was the eastern part of the city managed by the Chen family. Huayin slowed down her pace, looked at the pedestrians coming and going, and the working workers and peasants, and fell into deep thought. The people in the East District live in order and harmony. Could it be because, after careful thinking, she came to a conclusion? It must be because Chen Jing found the rich families and gave the money to these people, so the people are grateful to Chen Jing. Thinking of this, Huayin understood. I know how to get close to Chen Jing. 2 words. Send money. The next day, Chen Jing was going to Jiachang Mountain to ask Old Master Qi if he had any gains. Unexpectedly, as soon as he walked out of the door, he saw Huayin blocking the door. It's not appropriate to say that she was blocking the door. She was just standing in front of a nearby stall, doing nothing, standing there and making the stall owner fidget. The stall owners next to her laughed secretly with their hands in their pockets. Old man, buy a bamboo dragonfly. Chen Jing threw down a copper coin and picked up a small animal woven from bamboo strips on the stall. Then he handed it over and said, how long have you been waiting? Just arrived. Puff. How can you talk nonsense in a serious manner? Chen Jing quickly explained. Well, I just remembered something happy. What did you want to ask yesterday? No answer. Huayin stared at the bamboo dragonfly in front of her with her big eyes, her eyes focused, as if she wanted to join the party. Hello. Oh, no problem. Huayin turned her head and said casually, this, give it to me. Yes. As soon as she said yes, the bamboo dragonfly disappeared in her hand. Chen Jing was stunned and thought he was hallucinating. Then he looked at her expressionless. No, the indifference she always had on her face. At this time, the ice and snow melted, and she looked at the bamboo dragonfly in her hand with a helpless look, as if she had encountered something unprecedented. It's broken. The bamboo dragonfly. There shouldn't be any mystery. This one has a little defect. I'll give you another one. Chen Jing reached out to grab it. No. The bamboo dragonfly quickly disappeared into her storage bag, and Huayin looked like she was protecting her cub, with a frown on her face. Chen Jing's heart skipped a beat. Sure enough, there is a problem. I lost money this time. How much did I lose? I don't know, but I should lose a lot. I somehow understood the meaning behind the subtle expression of teacher's when he didn't make money from me. Chen Jing was in a bad mood and said, Miss Sighing, if everything is fine, Chen still has land to cultivate. Something is wrong. Huayin glanced around and said with spiritual power, Chen Jing, you are a spiritual plant husband. You should know that if there is a formation to assist, the spiritual field can be used to grow spiritual plants all year round, and there are many wonderful uses. Of course I know. Such formations are mostly arranged in several families in the inner city. It is difficult for me to get them, but I have learned the talisman formation, and I can use the talisman to restore some of the mysteries of the formation. Chen Jing heard it. Could it be that this is preparing to do business with me? Don't say it. If you can really restore some of the effects of the formation, then this business is completely possible. Missing, Zio Chen, I was a little bit rude just now. I hope you will forgive me. A bright smile appeared on Chen Jing's face instantly. No problem. Aang Huayan was delighted. The money-making method really worked. This must be done. It's perfect. Chapter 56 Falling Snow. In the Nine Mountains. The eyes of the chief tree man were always staring at the sky, through the thick clouds, as if waiting for the curtain to open. The tree people rarely communicated. This made Old Master Qi very uncomfortable. Although he didn't want to help Chen Jing get information. After all, the two were enemies, but this depressing atmosphere still made him want to say something. This time, he mustered up his courage and came to the chief tree man, saying that his sword was thirsty and he had to wait until when. The chief tree man was very patient. He lowered his already yellow branches and leaves, comforted Old Master Qi, and said, "The city is the most solid place. With our current strength, we cannot break into it. How long do we have to wait? Wait until it snows." Zio Qi, do you still remember the snow in winter? Remember. Old Master Qi dodged the branch that was touching his head and said, "When it snows in winter, you don't have to do anything. Just wait until winter is over." Ha ha ha. The chief tree man laughed and said, "Yes, there is no need to farm in winter, and it's a rare leisure time. I still remember that my mother, father, younger brothers and sisters and I gathered in front of the charcoal basin to keep warm. My father took out dry food, put it on the firewood to heat it up, and shared it. The pancake was soft and glutinous inside, and the crust was crispy. It was delicious." Suddenly, a sigh came from the other end, saying, "When I was in winter, I loved drinking the most. After drinking, I went to bed with my wife, and was very happy. Ha ha ha, I'm the same way. My eldest and second child were both conceived this way." Another tree man who had been silent for a long time slowly shook his body. Old Master Qi watched everyone open up their conversations, and the depression in his heart due to the environment was relieved a lot. They were obviously just some family matters of the common people, but now they were even better than the opera songs, and he listened with relish. He asked, "What happened later?" Later. The voice of the leader tree man became low, and he said, "The harvest was very poor in those years, and we couldn't borrow grain. There was not enough food for the winter, so my father went to the mountains to hunt deer, and broke a leg." Old Master Qi was immediately embarrassed. "My wife also starved to death in a winter. I didn't listen to her, and lent grain to the tribe." The tree man who had said that he drank wine and had sex with his wife in the winter before now talked about this ending. The eldest and second child are sick, and it's hard to cure. Hard to cure means that it can't be cured. In a mortal family, if a child is sick, it is actually the same as death. Send the child to the doctor? What conditions do you have to send the child to the doctor? The medical expenses are a burden. It is more cost effective to give birth to a new child than to cure one. If you can resist, then resist. If you can't resist, then forget it. With so many children, there will always be one that can survive. Old Master Qi gradually dared not say a word. He was old, but he had never cared about what kind of life these mortals in front of him lived. For him, winter means that he can't farm, the family development slows down, and he is more idle. But for mortals, every winter is a catastrophe. Every day before winter, they are preparing for winter. Once the preparations are not sufficient, it means that death will befall the family members. Wait for the snow. Old Master Qi thought of what the tree man leader said, and a chill rose in his heart. Anning Prefecture. It has survived disaster after disaster. Could it be that it will really fall into the hands of a group of mortals? It's getting colder and colder. I feel like it will snow in the next few days. Huayan, how is the debugging going? Soon. Good. Chen Jing urged, looking at the sky. During this period of time, a number of small cultivation families in the surrounding area have been destroyed. After the death of the old man of the Yang family was also destroyed. However, some of the direct descendants of the Yang family escaped and went to the Chen family for shelter and got a small piece of land in Hualien Lake. This was a favor in exchange for the third level red glass sword of the Yang family. In addition, many families whose foundations were taken away also chose to go to the Chen family with their only treasures in the family, and the Chen family took them in one by one. The situation of the entire outer city cultivation world gradually became clear in the chaos, and was divided into three forces. The Chen family force, the Jing family force, and a Wu family force. The Wu family force belongs to a defensive alliance. They are united not for development, but only to avoid being plundered by other families, and live in peace in a corner. The Jing family was outrageous. After a large number of family members died, and the ancestral land of Hualien Lake was lost, they fought their way out and successfully occupied the territories of the Yang family and the Qi family. They belonged to the offensive alliance, and were the most powerful. Finally, there was the neutral Chen family. After the Jing family regained power, they naturally wanted to take back their ancestral foundation. However, no matter how powerful the cultivators sent to deal with Chen Jing were, they all turned into fertilizer in Chen Jing's hands. After the Jing family asked a Zuanaying cultivator to deal with Chen Jing and disappeared inexplicably, they completely gave up the idea and took the initiative to offer a bunch of resources as an apology and stopped provoking the Chen family. The Chen family also gained a lot of benefits in this wave of turmoil. The seeds and crops inherited by the cultivation families whose foundations were seized, the related skills, and the cultivation experience were all used to enrich the foundation of the Chen family. Otherwise, why would they protect others? Of course, it was because the money was in the account. No one made trouble, and Chen Jing was able to farm peacefully. With the help of Ying Huayan, the newly reclaimed spiritual fields were all set up with talisman arrays to make up for the lack of environmental climate element, and a large number of off-season spiritual plants were planted one by one. There were many problems encountered during this period. Chen Jing and Ying Huayan could only solve these messy problems together and slowly promote the immortal greenhouse technology. Chen Jing, go and see how the talisman array is this time. The preliminary experiment of the growth promoting technique is fine, and rice can be planted here. Okay. The two took a break for a while. Ying Huayan suddenly said, I need to go back to the family. I have prepared the spare talismans. You just need to replace them. If there are any problems, I will tell you when I come back. Well, don't you hate the Ying family very much? It's not that I hate it. I hope the Ying family will be destroyed. I don't want to go back either. I'm just a tool for making talismans there. Ying Huayan said seriously, but my father asked me to go back. He should have something to ask me. Okay, well. By the way, if it snows, you must be careful. After the snow, the city will definitely be in chaos, but I don't know where is safe at that time. Anyway, be careful. Chen Jing looked at this girl who was once spotless and now dressed like a village girl, and couldn't help but feel very strange. At that time, I thought it was a deal. Unexpectedly, Ying Huayan had only one request, which was to continue to collect the fines. Then she followed him and helped him make a talisman array that could adjust the environment. Compared with the large array, the talisman array is several times weaker in function and effect, and it is troublesome to operate and maintain. In terms of cost performance, it is even worse than the big array. There is nothing left, which is a headache. But for Chen Jing at present, it is still a timely help. Besides, during these days of getting along, I also got to know Ying Huayan's personality. If I have to describe her, it probably fits the stereotype of a programmer. A slavish worker who works hard, a low-ec otaku who is not good at socializing. In fact, she is not stupid, and her EQ is not low, but because she has too little practical experience, she makes jokes subconsciously. It is actually very easy to get along with her. I'm leaving. Well, if you have anything, come to me. Chen Jing waved. Just as the two were about to part, a crystal snowflake fell on the soil of Ning Mansion. I update so late every day, I'm embarrassed to ask for follow-up reading, but the data is not good, and it's difficult to continue writing. I still shamelessly ask for a follow-up reading. Chapter 57, Showdown, No More Pretending. Good news, the spiritual rain has stopped. Bad news, it's snowing. Chen Jing left the spiritual field covered by the talisman array, and looked up at the sky. The sky was grey, like thick cotton wool, suppressing everything. The originally scattered clouds gradually gathered and merged into an ominous dark grey curtain. The wind whistled, rolling up the dust on the ground. They jumped and rolled in the air, like countless naughty elves. The temperature dropped sharply in an instant, and the world became clear and hazy. Chen Jing stretched out his hand and opened his palm. It was the touch of falling snow. Watching the snow and gravel melt in his palm. In the city of Fucheng, Ying Huayan was dressed in plain clothes and stood quietly in the corridor. Her eyes reflected the flying snowflakes, and her eyes were deep and calm. "Huayan, you're back," Ying Chen said with a smell of alcohol and a red face. "Father, it's snowing, and your plan is just around the corner. It's not safe outside the city. Don't go out at home these days." Both father and Chen Jing said that it was unsafe when it snowed. This made Ying Huayan a little confused. Seeing the inquiry in his daughter's eyes, Ying Chendao snorted, squinted at the sky, and said, "Do you know where those mutated tree people came from? Jiuchang Mountain Zuanjing?" "Yes and no. Those tree people are just the people outside." Ying Chendao patted the snow that fell on his body, yawned with a smell of alcohol, and said lightly, "Anning Mansion has been peaceful for too long. The Qingnang sect is not good at fighting and has trained its people into waste. As a father, I have been fighting in the battlefield outside the domain and have gained some experience, so I can tell. The eclipse spirit rain is not a natural disaster, but a cultivator with a profound cultivation. A great Dao technique encompassed the entire Anning Mansion, but this kind of great cultivator, I have only heard of it." Ying Huayan asked, "Why do you want to attack Anning Mansion? My father doesn't know about this. How can we guess the every move of such a powerful figure?" Ying Chen said leisurely, "But if not, how can we have such a good opportunity now? Just wait and see. The heavy snow will fall for 10 days or half a month, and the people will have no way to survive. They will be catalyzed by hatred and turn into tree people one by one. When the city is in chaos, it will be our chance." Ying Huayan thought of the people outside and said, "If all the people are killed or injured, and the Qingnang sect holds them accountable, by then, I will have become the lord of Anning Prefecture, and it will be worth it to take any responsibility. What's more, the Qingnang sect will most likely not hold them accountable. After all, the person who made the mistake is already dead, and I turned the tide, so I should have made merits rather than mistakes." Ying Chen laughed, turned his head and looked, and said, "My dear daughter, in a while, you will be the lord's daughter, and the huge Anning Prefecture will be all servants of my Ying family. I thought my father just wanted to come back for revenge, but I never thought that he had this ambition." Ying Huayan's eyes trembled, and the fingertips of the hands hidden in the sleeves tangled the corners of the clothes. She said casually, "Besides sacrificing the people, is there no other way? Revenge must be taken back, and the family business must be taken back. I know you are dissatisfied with the people of the Ying family, because the Ying family is not ours. When your father succeeds, you will know the benefits. As for the people..." Ying Chendao didn't care and said, "What if I turn into a tree man? Your father is not a bunch of trash who have never been to the battlefield. No one in Anning Mansion can defeat me." After saying that, he was satisfied, left a sentence to eat at twilight hour, and went back to the wing room leisurely. Ying Huayan looked at the snow that was getting heavier and heavier, and her heart became gloomy. She inexplicably remembered that when she and Chen Jing arranged the talisman array for the spiritual field, she asked why they did this kind of thing, because the cost of the talisman array, in terms of price, was already dozens of times the output of spiritual plants in the spiritual field. The loss rate is shocking. Don't remind me of whether it's a loss or not. My heart is about to break. He felt pain in his flesh, and at the same time muttered something incomprehensible, such as, "I'm not even worthy of carrying shoes in a greenhouse. Then why do we have to do it? Don't ask. Can't you ask, even if it's 100% done? Then I'll help you pay 20% of the spiritual talisman fee, because we want to give the people visible hope." On King Niu Mountain, Chen Jing summoned the core figures of the secular branches and gathered them together, saying, "Winter snow is coming, and I have prepared some spiritual pills for the children of each sect." Gua. Chen Gu took out bottles of pills from his storage bag and piled them in front of the table in public. Although the representatives of the secular branches received some hints, they couldn't take their eyes off the spiritual pills. You know, in the first half of this year, they were not even qualified to eat pio and rice. No wonder everyone said that the master family had made a fortune. This is really a fortune. Chen Gu immediately distributed these pills one by one and received a lot of words of gratitude. Chen Jing said, Anning Prefecture encountered a great chaos, and many families in the cultivation world suffered from the disaster of family destruction, and then they came to my Chen family. There are not many practitioners in my Chen family. Fortunately, Jinger is gifted and can suppress these outsiders, but in the long run, some hidden dangers are inevitable. Only by making our own family strong can we suppress outsiders and drive them conveniently. Does the head of the family want to give us branches the method of cultivation? A branch representative couldn't help but asked excitedly. That's right. Chen Jing nodded and smiled. From now on, everyone in my Chen family can practice. Everyone was in an uproar, looking at them in amazement and unbelievable. Although the cultivation families are exploited by the powerful families, if you want to be exploited, you must have strong reincarnation skills. As long as you embark on the path of cultivation, no matter the status, resources, or the increase in lifespan and strong physique brought by the cultivation itself, they are all leaps that are unattainable in the mortal world. However, Chen Jing suddenly stopped smiling and said in a dignified manner, after practicing, there are some rules that need to be agreed upon in advance. If you follow them, you will be taught the method of practice. If you violate the clan rules, you will be severely punished. Don't blame the master for not respecting blood ties. It's all up to the master's orders. Everyone expressed their obedience. Family rules and clan rules are something that should be taken for granted in this era. Chen Jing then took out the book that had been prepared long ago from his arms, read it in a majestic voice, and then passed it on to everyone to read it. Everyone found that these clan rules are actually not much different from the existing clan rules. If you use Chen Jing's modern thinking to understand, put aside the clauses that emphasize spiritual construction such as loyalty and filial piety, this clan rule is actually very close to the labor contract of later generations. Just saying it in this era. The clan rules explain the resources that the master family needs to provide each generation of each branch with the opportunity to enter the practice, as well as all the resources during the soul enriching period, and calculate the contributions of the clan members based on merit. It also explains the contributions that the branches must provide. For example, the monks who receive the supplies must participate in the cause of cultivating and maintaining new spiritual fields, and must serve as clan soldiers for the family when necessary. This is the foundation. On this basis, the calculation of major and minor merits is refined. In addition, after Chen Jing's instruction, it was repeatedly emphasized that the clan rules would severely punish those who bully ordinary people. For the people of the branch, this clan rule is no different from giving benefits for free. After all, their own branches also have similar family rules. After a group of Chen's branches went there happily, Chen Jing continued to recruit people from other families to take in. Similar conditions were also offered to outsiders. Of course, compared with their own family members, the welfare benefits of these outsiders were definitely not at the same level, but they still retained their room for advancement. For the outsiders who have lost their foundation and can only die slowly, this is a free gift, so there is no reason not to accept it. So far, the Chen family has completely stopped pretending. I have money, but I will spend it with everyone, and we will get along together, and we will be guaranteed to have a good life. There is only one purpose for doing this. Either they gather together and survive this disaster, or they turn into ashes and disappear. Chapter 58, Cultivation Progress. Dad, is everything done? Of course. My father Chen Jing has the appearance of an emperor. Chen Jing praised him angrily and successfully got the posture of the old father to beat him. Seeing him stand up and roll up his sleeves, revealing the thick muscles on his arms, he then picked up the things on the table and wanted to revive his father's power. Okay, you rebellious son, you call your father by his taboo name. Are you getting cocky? I dare not be so hot. Chen Jing surrendered quickly and ran even faster. Under the gaze of his brother and sister outside the door, he was chased up and down, and finally he was beaten several times. Before he was honest, Chen Gu shook his head and sighed. Why is my second brother so jumpy? He has to get married and steer his career in the future. The third sister was very happy to see it and said, "My second brother said that this is called a sultry heart, always young and always restless. Don't learn your second brother's abstract words. Brother, the word abstract is also said by your second brother. Hey." Chen Gu's face darkened. At this time, Chen Jing had already sat down honestly and started to talk about business with his father. "How did you know to go home today? Tell me, what's the matter?" Chen Jing drank a sip of tea to calm his heart and asked. "I was outside the East City and sent ordinary people to fix the ridges and other things. I also hired a young female master from the inner city at a high price to set up a talisman array that is not affected by the cold winter. Now there are fields there, and there are cultivators who can do farming. All we need is a spiritual planter who can comb the veins of the earth. We can turn all the wasteland into spiritual fields. I will go home and ask my father to borrow some manpower. How many people do you need? Let's go together and take those people from other clans with us." Huh? Don't want King Niu Mountain? King Niu Mountain won't run away if we leave it here. Take the important things and come back after finishing the spiritual fields in the east of the city. Chen Jing said indifferently. There is definitely no such thing as a clan protection array or a sect protection array. King Niu Mountain has no defensive advantages. It is purely a production base. It is only during the harvest that we need to keep some people to prevent casual cultivators from stealing vegetables. If someone dares to occupy the magpie's nest, that's good. You can plant the spiritual field first, and you will be honest when the harvest comes." In a blink of an eye, the family packed up their big and small bags and rushed to the east of the city with all the clansmen and vassal families. When Chen Jing arrived, Wang Laoda of the Qinghai gang immediately greeted him and respectfully invited the Chen family to live in the big house. When using work for relief, in addition to building small bungalows for the victims, Chen Jing did not forget to build a villa for himself. The area is not large, less than 2 acres, with 3 main halls, 2 side rooms and a front hall. He worked hard to complete this house. Although many details and decorations are not in place, it is still not a problem to live in it. Now that there are so many people, one house is definitely not enough, so others live in small bungalows around. Teacher Zaya, please choose a room first. I only live in your room and have paid the rent. Hua Qingsha has her own unique insistence on spending all the balance on the card. Chen Jing didn't expect that the second price of realizing his great blueprint would be to sleep on the floor, but Teacher Zaya paid too much money, so he couldn't refuse to sleep on his bed, let alone use him as a bed. After Hua Qingsha inspected her territory, she asked, "How is your practice going?" "I have already opened the 9 orifices and seen the 9 gods." Chen Jing said. "Ah, why haven't I heard you mention it before?" Hua Qingsha was shocked. Chen Jing thought, "Isn't this as it should be? Why is he so surprised?" and said, "I had an idea of opening the 9th orifice and asking the Tao Heart when I decided to go down the mountain alone. Later, I eliminated those who attacked me one by one, and then I completely condensed it. However, except that I felt that my spiritual power increased a little, it seemed to have no other effect." Hua Qingsha said, "The 9th orifice is indeed not as unique as the previous 8 orifices. You should have heard that if a person suddenly becomes smart, it will be said that this person has opened his mind. The vast majority of people are people with defects who are not able to understand the orifices. This orifice refers to the orifice on the road of cultivation, so the orifice opening period is to make up for the defects in people's cultivation. In the ancient cultivation world, when it was still the set of practicing key and building foundation pills, only those with unique talents such as spiritual roots could practice. They were people who were born with orifices and only needed to practice key and accumulate. Nowadays, the immortal system allows mortals to practice generally. The first 3 orifices transform the essence, energy, and spirit. The 5 internal organs orifices connect the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and shape pseudo-spiritual roots. The 9th orifice asks for the heart of Tao and breaks the mystery of cultivation. Only when all 9 orifices are opened and step into the mysterious seal can one be considered a true practitioner. Chen Jing said, "When I was in the spirit, others told me that only when the orifices were opened could it be considered true cultivation. After I opened the orifices, you told me that the mysterious seal was a true cultivation. I became a fake immortal. Ahem. Don't interrupt. Hua Qingsha glared at him, and she said, when you have the Zuanayan, you will know that the Shenzang is the real practice, but it is still too early for you. In short, before the Zuanayan period, whether it is a soul or the orifice, the increase in lifespan is negligible, and after the Zuanayan, lifespan will increase by 60 years. The earlier the Zuanayan is achieved, the more lifespan will be increased, and you can fly freely and study Taoism. The Zuanayan period is divided into 3 stages, namely, condensing the foundation of Taoism, causing strange phenomena, and Taoism giving birth to flowers. If you have seen the 9 gods, you must have condensed a superior foundation of Taoism. Show me what god you have seen. You may not understand this god. Chen Jing lowered his eyes slightly, and the 5 internal organs and orifices emerged, and a divine light suddenly appeared, illuminating the whole body. It was different from the previous phantoms of the 3 immortal gods of spirit, energy, and spirit. This time, the god was not without a human form, and even had no specific image. Only a light blue screen slowly emerged in the divine light. Some square characters and symbols were listed on it. Chen Jing, spell list, object control, growth boosting, water control, star attraction, cloud, and mist illusion, points added. 5 Chen Jing said, my 5 internal organs spirit, I call him the spirit of wind and moon shadow, can temporarily enhance all the spells I have learned, but it consumes my accumulated merits and wishes. Every time I add a point, the power of the related spells will be doubled, and it seems that there are some other effects besides this. It's a pity that it's not permanent, and after doing good deeds for so long, there are only 5 points. I used up a point in the previous experiment, so I can't experiment further. Hua Qingsha thought about it, and recalled that she really didn't find anything similar in the classics. She said, the 5 internal organs are not fixed, and it is common to see gods that you have never heard of. From what you said, this god is not bad. I think it's good. Chen Jing said, restraining his divine light, and said, the ego orifice is a bit strange. It has no specific location, and it seems to be in every part of my body. The god seen here is very handsome. I don't know how to show it. Hua Qingsha looked strange and said, there is no need to look at this. The ego orifice is just like this. Everyone's ego god can only look like the person himself. In the ancient cultivation world, it is also called the primordial spirit, the true self, etc., and it can only leave the body after cultivation. No wonder. Chen Jing suddenly realized. After exchanging the progress of cultivation, Chen Jing wanted to ask about the promotion to Zuanayan, but the 3rd sister ran in and shouted, second brother, when are we going to leave? He replied, then let's go now. Chapter 59, Weeds. A few days ago, Boss Wong was patrolling the eastern part of the city. Although he was a gang leader, he did not look vicious at all. His black short shirt was propped up by his chubby belly. He stood with his hands behind his back, and his round face was always tense and dignified. Anning Prefecture was a place without imperial power and government, but power was not a vacuum, but existed in other forms. Families, gangs, etc. divided up the relevant power. The source of power can be many aspects, but generally it comes from violence, resources, and conventions, that is, guns, money bags, and pens. Boss Wang did not have a deep understanding of the nature of power, but it did not affect his understanding that the source of his power was Master Xiao Chen, and there was no problem in serving the source of power. Master Xiao Chen said that he looked vicious, so he immediately shaved his beard and put on a short shirt according to Master Xiao Chen's taste, discarding his vicious appearance and picking up a serious look. At this time, a younger brother dressed in the same way hurried over. Boss Wang, what boss? I've told you so many times. When you're outside, call me leader. Boss Wang frowned, took a deep breath, and waved his hand. Go ahead, what's the matter? Leader, it's like this. Master Chen is here, looking for you. Quick, don't block the way. Boss Wang's serious face immediately became respectful. His increasingly rounded belly did not affect his flexible steps. He ran to a large house that had not yet been hung with a sign. In the main hall of the reception, Chen Jing was sitting at the table drinking tea. Boss Wang walked up and said respectfully, "Master Chen." Chen Jing looked up and down at his clothes and couldn't help but laugh at his own bad taste. "Leader Wang, you've worked hard recently." I dare not. It's all my duty." Boss Wang shook his head in fear, saying repeatedly, without any temperament, "The words are not right either. TSK, it really doesn't have that flavor. Little one, do you know why I told you not to be so fierce recently? Because you are kind." Puff. Chen Jing almost spit out the tea after taking a sip. "Be careful of the heat." Boss Wang immediately stood up, showing his concern as a subordinate, and then simply stood aside and said affectionately, "Master Chen sympathizes with the people and can't bear to see the suffering of the people. He is a true Taoist and a true great benevolent." Chen Jing finally calmed down his internal anger and shook his head. "I think what you said is right, but it's not enough. Forget it. There is no point in talking too much. It depends on your own understanding. Come out with me." The two went to the fields outside together. Chen Jing said, "Boss Wang, have you ever farmed?" "I have no parents. I was raised by my uncle. I learned some martial arts and did the business of escorting goods in the family. But I can also dig in the fields." Boss Wang replied, "Just a little bit will do." Chen Jing then fell into a long silence, as if he was making a final decision. After a long while, he said, "Boss Wang, I'll give you the opportunity to practice, and I'll give you 10 acres of spiritual fields. If you don't want it, don't you?" Boss Wang hadn't reacted yet, and his expression didn't change. Then he came to his senses, opened his mouth, and his face twitched. His expression suddenly became very rich, and he didn't know how to respond. "Not only for you." Chen Jing pointed to the field and said, every household will be given at least 2 acres of spiritual fields. The more you work, the more you get. Moreover, every household must implement the opportunity to practice." Boss Wang shook his head repeatedly and laughed awkwardly. "Master Chen, you're joking. This is impossible. Stretch out your hand." Chen Jing turned around, and at the moment when Boss Wang subconsciously stretched out his hand, the flying sword cut his arm, and the prepared rice spores instantly pounced over, and the roots greedily pierced into his wound. Boss Wang screamed like a pig being slaughtered, rolled on the spot, trying to tear the terrible thing apart, but soon, a spiritual force pressed on him. Chen Jing said, "Don't resist." Boss Wang burst into tears. "Master Chen, I was wrong. What did I do wrong? Give me a chance." He howled for a long time, howling so hard that the sky collapsed and the earth cracked, and howled until he gradually calmed down. Realizing that he was still alive, Boss Wang stood up, patted his butt, and said in surprise, "I'm not dead. Look, are the mountains and rivers different?" Hearing Chen Jing's voice, he subconsciously shrank, reacted and quickly smiled flatteringly, then turned his head and looked around. "This mountain is a mountain, but it is not a mountain. That water is water, but it is not water. The whole world is more detailed," unfolding in front of him from a more specific angle. I seem to be different. I'm a practitioner." Boss Wang was ecstatic. "During this period of time, you have arranged many things I ordered quite well, so I will give you this opportunity to practice first. Do you remember what I said just now?" Master Chen really wants all the people to practice? Go and spread this news. Let the people in the east of the city know about this, and then give you a list. After the news spreads, call the people on the list, and I will give them the way to practice." Chen Jing said. "Yes." Boss Wang was full of doubts, but he was used to doing things first, so he retreated at Chen Jing's wave. When he got outside, surrounded by a group of younger brothers, he restored his leadership style, nodded seriously, and walked in front with his hands behind his back. Time goes back to the present. Boss Wang has been looking forward to it for a long time, and finally the Chen family has come, although he didn't wait for long. If his attitude towards this piece of land before was just Master Chen's order, now he completely regards it as his most valuable property. There is no other reason, just because he has 10 acres of spiritual fields here. In addition to Boss Wang, there were more than 20 people, all of whom were disaster victims dressed in simple clothes, waiting in the fields. In addition to Boss Wang, they were also spiritual plant cultivators who were given hybrid spiritual plants by Chen Jing. They were directly in the soul condensation stage and had the ability to perceive and interfere with spiritual power. Chen Jing came here and took a quick look. He saw more than 20 cultivators and was very confused. He said, "Jinger, what is this?" Everyone was confused. Where did they get so many young cultivators who had just started? 20 or so. Even if they were only in the soul condensation stage, this number was not small. They are all disaster victims from outside the city with good talents. I asked my father to come here to teach them how to comb the earth veins, cultivate and maintain spiritual fields, and grow spiritual rice. Chen Jing said, spiritual plant husbands can be regarded as technical jobs. Combing the earth veins is something like combing the earth veins. No one teaches you. It is difficult to get started just by groping. Of course, ordinary spiritual plant husbands can only get started and do preliminary combing. The cultivators of the great sects with advanced realms can comb the earth veins of large rivers and cities. Chen Jing, Huaqingsha's eyes flashed with golden light, and it was obvious that she was not using an ordinary key gazing technique. After looking for a while, she turned around and said seriously, "Come with me." When they arrived at a secluded place, she immediately asked, "You actually parasitize the victims with spiritual objects?" Chen Jing said, "I know I can't hide it from Teacher Zaya, so I changed the spores in the 9-layered mountain Zuanjing, allowing it to become a new spiritual plant. After parasitizing people, it will no longer mutate, but will enable people to gain the ability to practice. Doesn't the Qingnang sect allow this? The Qingnang sect doesn't care how many people under its jurisdiction can practice, nor does it care how they practice. The reason why the current immortal way has replaced the ancient immortal way is not that the current immortal way is stronger than the ancient immortal way in all aspects, but mainly because the current immortal way can allow more people to practice." Huaqingsha's face was solemn, and she said, "But you have to understand that once this group of people get into trouble, whether they get into trouble themselves or they cause trouble, it will be blamed on you. Is that so?" Chen Jing breathed a sigh of relief and said, "It's much less trouble than I thought. The Qingnang sect is so open-minded. Can you control it?" "Yes." Huaqingsha paced left and right and said, "Just 20 or so spirits are not a problem." "Wait, you are not planning to let more mortals parasitize spiritual creatures, are you?" "No, of course not." Huaqingsha said anxiously, "With so many practitioners, how can you control them? How are you going to feed them? Just by farming? Even if you can afford to support them and control them with such great ability, what do you think of the wealthy families? They will never sit idly by." It's rare to see teachers being so impolite. Chen Jing was stunned for a moment, then smiled and said, "Teacher Zaya has considered it very carefully, but the people already have the spores of the Jushin mushroom on their bodies. They are all going to die anyway, either frozen to death, or starved to death in the cold winter, or turned into tree people by the Fengshan sect and used as cannon fodder. Rather than letting them die in vain, I might as well accept them and plant some crops. At this time, you can't even protect yourself. Why do you still have to go to this extent?" Teacher Zaya has already said that, as long as I can afford to support and control so many cultivators, I will be a wealthy family, so my purpose is very simple. I also want to make progress. I want to enter the city and be a master. When you become a descendant of the Qingnang sect, sooner or later you will be able to enter the city and be a master. Huaqingsha looked unkind and said, "Tell the truth." Chen Jing was silent for a moment, then said, "Senior sister, look at this city, the wealthy families, the major clans, who pays the most attention to the people? None of them. Only the Fengshan sect pays the most attention to the people. Although the mortals are like grass, don't look down on them, they just lack weapons." Huaqingsha was stunned and suddenly remembered the incarnation of the heavenly official she saw when she went to Jiachang Mountain to investigate. Except for this old man, who else would love the grass and insignificant in this world? The murmur of the heavenly official of Fengshan sect coincided with Chen Jing's words at this time. Chen Jing said loudly at this time, "I admit that I have a gambling element, but I always believe that in this black box, although the nobles are strong, they will lose, and although the common people are weak, they will win. At this time, it seems that I'm protecting the people, but they may not be protecting me. Hua Qingsha's expression eased and smiled. Since you have made a decision, then I will do as you say. Don't worry too much about the King Nang sect. My master can still speak. I will go and ask my master for help when the time comes. The Chen family started the great cause of farming in full swing. In this winter, the people in the eastern part of the city not only have the material support of the Chen family's common branch, but also Chen Jing's continuous begging and extortion style fines to get a large amount of supplies. This is the accumulation of decades of exploitation by the landlords, which is more than enough to support the disaster victims in the eastern part of the city through the winter. But this is not enough. An explosive news spread among the disaster victims in the eastern part of the city. Chen Jing was granting the qualification to practice cultivation. He promised that every family would have at least one person who could practice cultivation and receive 2 acres of spiritual fields. If there is merit, you can also get spiritual fields as a reward. When this news first came out, no one believed it, even if the Spokesperson and Wang Laodao went there in person. But as one disaster victim after another was selected, one after another was still a little Karami when he went and came back as a high-ranking monk master. It was impossible for everyone not to believe it. There is a monk who jumps 3 feet high, and acres of spiritual fields cannot be fake. Real cases, pictures, and truth. But ordinary people, as the easiest targets to bully, have sufficient experience of being deceived. They know too well that pie will not fall from the sky. Since it is true that you can practice cultivation, then there must be a price to pay. Just like before, the mountain gang tricked the disaster victims to Jiachang Mountain with generous conditions, but they wanted their lives. What about this time? It's just that the price has not been paid yet. But why do ordinary people, who have such rich experience of being deceived, continue to be deceived? The bait is too tempting. That's cultivation, a leap of 2 levels of class. It's worth a fight to be brothers in the one banner. If you lose, one person from each family will die. If you win, the whole family will become the master. The cohesion of the disaster victims in the East District of the city is now unprecedentedly strong, and every piece of news from the spiritual field is repeatedly spread. Everyone learned from the returning spiritual cultivators that the Chen family was teaching them how to control water, how to use spiritual hose to conduct spiritual power, connect the earth veins, and teach them the basic common sense of the cultivation world. This kind of sincere and unpretentious craftsmanship teaching has boosted the victims' trust in the Chen family. Cannon fodder does not deserve such preferential treatment. The question is that I really used to be cannon fodder. It's not a loss for Chen Jing. Anyway, you have reclaimed this field by yourselves, and you have spent a lot of effort to cultivate the spiritual field. His biggest expense at the current stage is the consumption of the talisman array. The actions of the Chen family here directly affected the victims in other places around. Many victims migrated directly to the eastern part of the city. Anyway, they were all fleeing. With such good treatment, only a fool would not come. What Chen Jing never expected was that his actions became the fuse that ignited everything. In the Jiachang Mountains, the leader tree man had already sent disguised tree men among the victims, waiting for the heavy snow, famine and cold to become the point of igniting hatred. But now he couldn't sit still. If he waited any longer, that little Master Chen would drag all the victims to farm. Chapter 60, Howling Cold Wind. Life is getting better now. Look, these are the coats that Master Chen gave us. In the simple bungalow, the family of 4 were wearing thick cotton padded coats, their faces full of joy, and the hostess was amazed. The material is really good, better than the new coats we made 2 years ago. Are you giving them to us for free? What are you talking about? That's the wages I got from working these days. Except here, where else can you work and get food and clothes? It's all Master Chen's kindness. I know. I'll just wait until I have free time, and then I'll talk to the respected elders and ask them to build a shrine for Master Chen. The family was enjoying the joy of the harvest. Suddenly, a strange and loud cry came from outside. The sound was low at first, like the wind passing through the crack of the door, making a thin whistle. However, as time went on, the sound became more and more intense, as if there was an ancient evil bird from the 9th heaven, crying in the sky and circling. What's that sound? The man threw down his coat, feeling very bad for some reason. He opened the door a little and looked out. In the sky, there were layers of dark clouds, thick and thin, rolling in the low sky. The wind quietly intensified, with a murderous aura, whistling wantonly at the street corner, rolling up dead leaves and swaying branches. In the outer city of Anning Prefecture, in the market, pedestrians were in a hurry. They felt the unusual atmosphere and had worries on their faces. The shop owners hurriedly closed the doors and windows, and the vendors packed up their stalls. Occasionally, there were a few children's laughter that broke the dull atmosphere, but they were also severely stopped by the adults and taken home. In the inner city, Aing Chen Dao, who was sleepy, suddenly got up and rushed out of the door, looking at the rolling dark clouds mixed with lightning and thunder, and laughed. He didn't notice Aing Huayan, who walked out of the wing room, looked at him with a very cold look. At the same time, the Duan and Aing families, who had been at loggerheads for a long time, received urgent reports from their clansmen at the same time, saying that a large number of mutated tree people were heading towards the city and had already appeared outside the city. The heads of the two families were shocked. They were on guard against each other, but they did not forget to monitor Jiachang Mountain. It was inevitable that 3 or 5 fish slipped through the net, but it was obviously abnormal that the news was received only when the army was right under their noses. The two families immediately put aside their hatred and sent envoys to shake hands and make peace. Whether it was true or false, no one would be able to do anything if the Cold War continued, but something had to be done now. As a collective, the noble families should always put the collective interests first. Master, those mortals, the tree people are those mortals. The news of the investigation came back quickly. I know that the tree people are all mortals, and they have changed before. What I mean is, how can they become like this? Duandi said angrily. I don't know. Who is responsible for providing relief to the outer city? Where is the manager? Let the manager come out. Duandi's chest was heaving with anger. When the manager came forward, he immediately slammed the table and roared. Duan Xiang, you bastard. The victims outside rebelled. I ordered you to provide relief, but what kind of disaster did you provide? Return to the master. I have passed the order down. Duan Xiang was sweating profusely, but he couldn't say anything. First of all, he didn't take a penny. But it is certain that he is not active in doing things, and his lack of greed does not mean that the people below will not be greedy. The noble families look down on the mundane. In fact, they don't even look down on the vassal families in the outer city. They are too lazy to exploit them seriously. They just make a rule casually and ignore it if there is no big problem. They have more profitable and profitable ways. But the nobles are a collective, and they succeed and fail together. The main family doesn't like it, the major main branches don't like it either, and there are also branches. The branches are not rich, and there are marginal figures like Aing Huayan who live a life like a slave. Duan Xiang, who was born in a branch family, knew this, so he couldn't continue. There must be a problem below, no matter how the problem is. He, the person in charge, cannot escape the blame. Thinking of this, he felt resentful again. I really don't care about things. Then do you care about things? Usually, you eat delicious food, wear fine clothes, and eat delicious food, and live in the inner city for decades. I don't see you care much about the suffering of the people. Now that the people have risen up, you know to grab us and roar. Duan Xiang didn't know why. Listening to the sobbing and crying of the voice of the 9 heavens, waves of resentment emerged from the bottom of his heart, and he felt that all the big and small unsatisfactory things he suffered in his daily life were particularly clear. Master, it's time to come up with a plan. Although the tree people are not a concern, if they attack the outer city, there will be countless casualties. It's really hard to explain to the King Nang sect. Please send the clan soldiers to kill the tree people, and then provide relief to the remaining victims. The backbone of the clan stood up and made practical suggestions on the problem. Although the internal struggles are fierce at ordinary times, but a wave of internal reshuffles has been completed not long ago, and the Duan family is in a relatively healthy state at this time. Duandi took a deep breath and seemed to realize that his behavior was a bit strange. What you said makes sense. Duan Yan, you go to open the clan's formation. Duan Fu, Go to the treasury to get the Jinxin treasure. This rumor is strange and seems to affect people's hearts. Yes. Do and lie. Do and fei. Leave the city within an hour. There are many tree people on the north and south sides now. From the Yang family to the south, we will go to the north. Dispatch 3,000 clan soldiers and be sure to suppress them. Yes. The former station of the Yang family. At this time, the Jing family was stationed here. The old man of the Jing family passed away early, and now there are only 3 generations of practitioners. One from the grandfather's generation, one from the father's generation, who is the current head of the Jing family, and finally the only 2 remaining from the new generation, Jingfu and Jingchan. 4 practitioners occupied such a large piece of land. After they could no longer expand, they established a new family business here. There was a strange phenomenon in the sky. Jing Chan was the first to notice it, stood up, looked at the sky, and looked strange. 6th brother. The 3rd brother Jing Fu spoke cautiously. The current Jing family. The one who can make the decision is neither the elderly grandfather nor the middle head of the family, but the youngest Jing Chan. The reason why the Jing family was driven out and still occupied a place was because of Jing Chan. Invulnerable to swords and guns, strong and powerful, these are all labels on him. But just being able to fight is not enough. The extermination of the family, killing people like flies, bloodthirsty, etc. are the real reasons for everyone's submission and fear. In the cultivation world of Anning Prefecture, there are 3 major forces outside the inner city, and the Jing family can dominate one of them. This is entirely due to Jing Chan's ability. Jing Chan looked at his 3rd brother who was obviously afraid of him, and a twisted feeling of discomfort and pleasure emerged in his heart. What's the matter? Nothing, nothing. 3rd brother, do you think that the Jing family's current foundation is enough? Is it not enough? Of course not. Jing Chan stood up suddenly, with a strong murderous aura rising from his body. Although he was small and thin, he exuded a terrifying aura like a ghost crawling out of hell. He walked barefoot towards the direction of the prefecture. Jing Fu chased him out and shouted, sixth brother, where are you going? To the prefecture. Chapter 61 Disaster. Oh no, a tree man is coming this way. The monster is coming again. The victims held short sticks and pitchforks in their hands, trembling as they looked at the 3-meter tall tree man monster in front of them. The tree man was half human and half tree, and he was even laughing unscrupulously. I've been disliking you for a long time. Why? We are all disaster victims. Why do you have enough food and clothes and work to do? The tree man shouted, and his arms, that had transformed into branches, swept across, forcing everyone to retreat. You all have to die. Die. I don't have it. Why do you have it? The branches swung quickly, and hit a young man who was unable to retreat in time. The young man immediately vomited blood and flew back, hitting the thatched house and sliding down. Iron pillar. Get out of the way. Seeing this group of people being easily swept away, the tree man laughed loudly, but the hatred in his heart became even deeper. Under the catalysis of hatred, his body was still rising step by step. At this time, an old woman rushed over crying, Zua, damn it. Everyone screamed and tried to stop him, but they were too late. You don't know what's good for you. The tree man swept the old woman down with another heavy sweep. However, this scene aroused the ferocity of everyone. A man's eyes were bloodshot, and he roared, then rushed over, climbed onto the tree man's body in a few steps, and threw the things in his hands at him without saying a word. Seeing this, the others also attacked brazenly. No one in the village, whether male or female, had never fought before, but the tree man was like a demon, scaring people, and once he got brave, he dared to attack. Some held pitchforks, some held machetes, and used whatever they had in their hands to attack the tree man. The tree man was rushed by so many people, and even though he was no longer the same as before, he was also shocked, and his eyes became clearer. But when he found that he could beat the group of people away by slapping his arms randomly, he laughed again. Everyone rushed forward, was knocked away, got up and continued to rush forward. The man who was knocked away several times got up countless times. His body was covered with bloodstains, but surprisingly, his strength and stamina were not weakened. He panted repeatedly, and at this time someone next to him pulled his hand and handed him something. Looking closely, it turned out to be a torch. Then, one after another. The disaster victims around him threw firewood at the tree man. The tree man was furious and wanted to kill them, but the men around him could get up, no matter how many times they were knocked away. Suddenly, there was a pain under his feet. Thick smoke blocked his vision. Fire! Fire! The tree man was shocked, and the branches and leaves slapped his feet frantically, but the wind was strong at this time, and the flames would not go out once they were ignited. His fear grew in his heart, and he attacked randomly like a madman. The flames ignited his body, but as he moved around, they also ignited the houses in the small village. More and more things were burning. Mom, our home. The little girl who was running out with her mother looked back and saw the newly rebuilt village engulfed in the sea of fire and burst into tears. The mother looked back, her eyes also full of tears. She wiped them away silently and covered her child's eyes. At this time, a voice sounded. Water control. The new homes of the disaster victims outside the city were all built by the water. If they were not by the river, there would at least be a well. At this time, several tons of water in the well flowed back into the sky out of thin air and was scooped up by spiritual power, rushing straight into the sky and then dripping down, accurately landing at the source of the fire. It was Chen Jing, who saw a big fire here from afar and rushed over immediately. Feng Ling Yuang added some water control skills to put out the fire. Ahem. The fire was extinguished and a burnt tree man was still gasping. Looking up, I saw Chen Jing standing in front of me, his long hair moving without wind, and his eyes were angry. Shanks and spare. Cap. Before the voice fell, the sword light was extinguished. The tree man, which was cut into several pieces, collapsed and piled up together. Good tricks, Brother Jing. Suddenly a voice sounded. Not far away. A young man who looked familiar to Chen Jing was sitting on the eaves not far away, showing him a sunny smile. Jing Chan. Go. Whoosh. The flying sword chopped towards Jing Chan's head without saying a word. Jing Chan's body turned into wood, without dodging. Only a dull sound was heard. The flying sword pierced into his forehead, but it was stuck, and couldn't go in. Brother Jing, my family apologized to your family, and your family also accepted the apology. It's not appropriate to greet you like this. Brother Chan should change this bad habit of appearing and disappearing like a ghost. Chen Jing waved his hand, retracted the flying sword, and looked at the slowly healing wound. He was afraid, but didn't say anything to lose face. Lest I fail to see clearly next time, and lose my sword. It's okay, it doesn't hurt. Stop talking nonsense. If there's nothing else to do, I'm busy. Since Brother Jing doesn't welcome me, I won't be a nuisance here any longer. I just want to tell you that there seems to be a powerful thing in Jiachang Mountain. If the inner city is broken, you might as well go with me. After that, he left barefoot. Chen Jing wanted to hit him on the, but with the chili sword. The two of them were in opposition, and they were the core of their respective forces. It was natural that they would not let him go if they could kill him. But just like the Jing family sent a Zuanayan period to cause trouble, and immediately negotiated after failure. Jing Chan's ability to be the core was also verified by Zuanayan period cultivators. This guy was really outrageous. If Chen Jing couldn't hold back, the flying sword would not kill him, but would intensify the conflict. He couldn't use the excuse that I didn't see clearly. Jing Chan was not the main contradiction at the moment, so he would put it aside for the time being. Chen Jing returned to the small village. Seeing the mess, he was angry. At this time, the villagers came back from all over in a mess. They felt sad when they saw the destroyed houses, but soon they started laughing. Tizu, you are fine. Aunt Zhang is fine too. I'm fine too. I was hammered into the ground. Everyone talked about their invulnerability and were very surprised. No one saw Chen Jing standing aside. Chen Jing never put his real body in the eyes of others. He used the cloud and smoke illusion technique to cover his body and breath for 24 hours a day, and then put a fake body outside. It was a bit tiring, but there were always people who wanted to harm him, so there was nothing he could do. Chen Jing's eyes lit up slightly, looking at the wood grain on everyone's body. His mind moved, and those wood grains faded one by one. There are spores lurking on the bodies of all the common people in Anning Mansion. The spores on their bodies had just been initially stimulated, so they could be so resistant to beatings, but now they were degraded by him. If the spores are not degraded in time, it will be difficult for these people to turn back into human form. He did everything silently. Chen Jing left the village. A big guy came to Jiachang Mountain. Thinking of Jing Chen's words, he was a little worried about his technical backbone's response. After returning to the inner city, there was no news at all. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62, Rolling Cactus. What a strange feeling. The aura of Chen Jing is similar to mine. After leaving alone, Jing Chan still recalled the brief fight in his mind. He had always heard that Chen Jing was unfathomable, but he had never seen it with his own eyes. After all, he was busy occupying territory and expanding his power at that time. He sent an old cultivator of the Zuan period to test him, but nothing happened. Thinking back to the meeting in Jiachang Mountain, he felt a sense of intimacy when he saw Chen Jing at the first sight. Of course, this kind of intimacy was very weak and could not affect any of his decisions. Now that they meet again, he still feels a familiar intimacy, although it is weaker, but it cannot be erased. It's very strange. The two families met when they were young, and they would see Chen Jing from time to time when they walked around the outer city on weekdays, but until this year, they didn't have any special feelings. Jing Chan was puzzled and could only put it aside. This time he came to find Chen Jing, and the cooperation he said was actually serious. He killed and killed outside, and he was happy. Not only did he become the actual spokesperson of the Jing family, but he also made other allies become half vassals of the Jing family. The benefit of this action is that the resources for his cultivation are greatly increased, and the sequelae are also obvious. Every bite of fat he eats is actually biting the powerful family. In order to make the powerful family not care, he must either spit out what he has eaten, or wait for the powerful family's thundering means. Before this, Jing Chan was ready to spit it out, show sincerity, show obedience, and satisfy the powerful family. He will still make a lot of money, but now he is unwilling from the bottom of his heart. He is afraid of poverty. It is unacceptable to go back to chew tree bark after eating big fish and meat. Jing Chan thinks that the Chen family should also have this problem. Although the Chen family did not take the initiative to plunder and remained neutral when it comes to interests, reason does not make sense. At most, the powerful family will be gentler to the Chen family, but what's wrong with being gentle? Even he can think of 7 or 8 ways to deal with the Chen family. For example, forcing the Chen family to selflessly dedicate to help those broken families rebuild their homes. Whoever provides resources must be the good people of the Chen family. If the hard approach doesn't work, you can use the soft approach. In a word, you are allowed to secretly eat a bite during special periods, but you can't take it away after eating. Jing Chan is also well informed about this. So how to solve this problem? It would be great if the powerful families were destroyed. Jing Chan thought that Chen Jing must have thought so too. If there is a chance, go to the inner city together. If there is a chance to destroy the powerful families, wouldn't it be wonderful? As for what to do with the tree people after the powerful families are destroyed, this is not a problem. Because he also has the power of tree people and knows how to stimulate it. In addition, the Qingnang sect will be able to free up its hands to deal with the tree people sooner or later. Of course, there are too many unexpected things in it, but so what? The opportunity for the small fish to eat the big fish is right in front of us. Just do it. No one can stop me, not even the powerful families. What are the losses? Many houses have to be rebuilt. Fortunately, there are not many deaths. On the contrary, more disaster victims have fled here. Chen Jing put out fires everywhere. His old father Chen Jing was handling internal affairs in the rear, listening to the report of the steward and arranging affairs. At this time, someone hurried over. The person who came spoke very quickly. Master, urgent news. The Duan and dying families took action, one from the south and one from the north, with thousands of troops and horses, led by Zuan period monks. Chen Jing said, I thought the masters in the inner city were blind and deaf. Wait, from the north and south gates. What about us? No one came, but the tree people fled in all directions. There was a tree man that was shaped like a bull, more than 10 feet long, with iron thorns all over his body, and it was fierce and powerful. The second young master has passed by. Ahem, ahem, how can it be so strong? A huge cactus rolled quickly and came to the east district of the city. When he was about to die, he heard the howling of the wind in the sky and couldn't help but think of his miserable life. Hate came from it, and then he turned into this appearance. He realized that he had become a tree demon, and his heart was even more angry. At the same time, he completely let go of the things that bound his heart in the past, and just wanted to destroy everything he saw. Not long after he rushed into the outer city, a cultivator flew over and smashed him with a seal. He was in unbearable pain, and had to flee. Fortunately, there were many tree people who rushed into the outer city to make trouble. When they saw him running away, they did not chase him, but ran towards other tree people. If I can't do anything to the cultivators, how can I do anything to you? The cactus tree man ran to the east of the city, looking at the newly built small village in front of him, thinking of the destruction and killing that was about to unfold. His heart was twisted and happy. At this time, another cultivator appeared in front of him, protecting the small village behind him. You are far inferior to the cultivators from the inner city. Just take it out on you. The cactus tree man crushed over. The cultivator on the opposite side was Chen Jing. His spiritual sense detected that a black thorn ball as high as a 6-story building had come here, so he rushed over immediately. Unexpectedly, the aura of this tree man was much stronger than his. It was not a qualitative change of the 3rd level, but an absolute advantage in the 2nd level in terms of magnitude. Chen Jing thrust his flying sword into the cactus, but it was knocked away by the high-speed rotating black spike ball, causing him to suffer some backlash. What the hell? It was rare to encounter such a tough guy. Chen Jing had to dodge to the side. However, the village behind was unlucky and was crushed into ruins by the black cactus. Fortunately, the people were evacuated. You dodged quickly, looking for death. Chen Jing changed his flying sword, the hidden sword of Mr. Qi, with a dark stream of light like a beam cannon, hitting the cactus directly. Where the sword light fell, a large piece of plant-like flesh and blood was blown out, forming a 2-meter wide pit. However, this wound was not worth mentioning in front of the huge body of the cactus. The cactus tree man howled in pain and rushed towards Chen Jing again. Not to mention that this was not Chen Jing's real body. Even if it was his real body, he could not touch the corner of his clothes. Seeing that he could not hit, the cactus tree man roared with extreme anger, and his body was actually growing stronger again. A tough membrane grew on the wound, and sharp thorns grew out. Then, without paying any attention to Chen Jing, he ran towards another small village. Chen Jing was stunned and swung his sword again, cutting off a large piece of dark green meat, but the cactus ball did not care and was determined to demolish the house. Okay, you force me, right? His eyes changed. His spiritual consciousness dispersed, and he did not see anyone else. He immediately summoned the hybrid book, infused spiritual power into it, and replaced the deformed spores of the cactus tree man with hybrid spores. What's going on? The cactus tree man suddenly felt that he could not control himself, but as he roared angrily, the feeling of being out of control gradually subsided. Chen Jing's eyes were shocked. It was not that his hybrid spores were out of control, but that this guy had completed his rebirth in a short moment. When the distorted spores were replaced and controlled, new distorted spores were produced again, and the uncontrolled hybrid spores were suppressed. Chen Jing was stunned and quickly focused his spiritual sense on the subtle details around him. In the recognition of spiritual sense, tiny spores were floating everywhere in the air, and they were continuously injected into the body of the cactus tree man. Damn, it can be done like this. Fortunately, I was in Jiachang Mountain at that time, and I didn't rely on the replacement to turn a bicycle into a motorcycle. Chapter 63, Inner City Falls. Besides being afraid, the current tricky situation is even more difficult to solve. If it is demolished, there will be nothing here. Come on, stupid thing. Grandpa will not avoid you. Chen Jing suddenly had an idea and came up with a plan. He replaced the opponent's newly sprouted deformed spores again, but did not rush to control the opponent, but stood here to taunt. Boom. Seeing Chen Jing standing still, the cactus tree man rushed over without hesitation. Chen Jing turned around and ran, while keeping at the point of being crushed, secretly controlling the opponent, and letting the opponent chase him at full speed. Sure enough, the cactus tree man did not realize that he was controlled again, but felt that he was very coordinated all of a sudden, as if he was assisted by God. The two chased and fled, and came to the outside of Anning Prefecture. Get out of the way. Chen Jing sent a message, and his body opened the way in advance, throwing those who did not have time to dodge on the road to the sides. Then, under the stunned gaze of the crowd in the outer city, the 10-foot-tall black cactus, with rolling dust, crashed into the inner city wall with amazing force and unstoppable force. Boom. The earth shook. Crush you to death. Crush you to death. Ha 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 ha. So what if you are a high and mighty immortal? I'll crush you to death. The cactus tree man was very excited. He clearly realized that he had crushed the guy who was rolling and crawling under him. Such a feat was as cool as slapping his master in the face in his dream. But his head hurt so much. It hurt so much. Where did it hit? Looking forward, through the huge crack in the wall in front of him, the cactus tree man saw a scene he had never seen before, and could hardly imagine. Inside, there was a road wide enough for 12 horses to run side by side. Every brick on the road had patterns, and there were carved beams and painted pillars. The mansions covering hundreds of hectares had buildings of different heights and winding attics, reliefs carved by skilled craftsmen, and wonders designed by masters. All the people he saw were dressed in silk and satin, and all were glittering with jewels. Even the livestock were rare and precious, and looked very decent. Everything, all things that he had never imagined before without any reference, now shone into reality, into his eyes. Where is this? The cactus tree man suddenly forgot what he was doing before. What milling village? What milling monk? He forgot everything. He was stunned. Everything before was unimportant, except for one thing. He wanted to go in now. He wanted to see more clearly. However, there was only a small gap left for him, and this gap was too small, so he couldn't see anything completely or clearly. Open it for me. The cactus tree man was furious, and his body grew slightly larger, and he hit the city wall in front of him with all his strength. Boom. There was a whooshing sound behind him. There were firelight, sword light, and the ripples of spiritual light when the magic weapon and talisman were activated, all blooming around him. The pain exploded all over his body, but the cactus tree man did not pay the slightest attention to the back. He was unwilling to take his eyes away from the world and the gap even for a breath. Open it for me, open it. Crashing madly, there was only one thought left in his heart. Go in, go in. That is the fairyland. That must be where the gods live. Once you enter it, you will be happy, and you will have everything. The cactus tree man felt pain again. He heard angry shouts around him, which made him instinctively afraid, because the tone of the angry shouts was exactly the same as the tone of the manager who usually scolded him for not working hard. It seemed as if he should not be standing here, should not be alive, and should not have even a moment of rest. Don't chase me, I'm going to the fairyland. Why are you still chasing me? The cactus collapsed instantly, and crashed even more crazily. Boom 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 boom. The wall that has stood for thousands of years is peeling off and cracking. Every huge vibration, every crack that opens, seems to shatter people's hearts at the same time, with a huge and terrifying sound. In the dust, the cracked wall of the city shattered. The inner and outer cities were connected. Chen Jing was dumbfounded. He didn't dare to believe that he did all this. He just lured a tree man who was not the top one, but the city collapsed just like that. What about the fear of foreign enemies? What about the treasure that protected the city? What about the masters of the noble families? Just like this? Chen Jing, who bet that the noble families in the inner city would be finished, was at a loss, not to mention the others, the mortals, landlords, cultivation families and monks from the inner city who witnessed everything nearby. Everyone looked at the big hole and fell into a dead silence. Finally, it was the cactus tree man who broke the silence. At this time, his whole body was riddled with holes from various spells and magic tools, and the traces left by the 5 element spells were piled all over his body, and not an inch was intact. Even so, he still moved, slowly moved his body in the ruins, and took difficult steps towards the inner city. Finally, after a faint, relieved laugh of fulfillment of his long-cherished wish, the breath dissipated. How could this be? It's impossible. Duan Fei, a Zuanayan period cultivator of the Duan family, still maintained a stunned expression. G, did your seal go astray and smash the city wall? Bullshit, my Qingshan seal hit the black ball every time, but you, Duan lie. I saw your talisman fell on the city wall. Can you use the talisman? Can a first level talisman break the city wall? Duan Lai was immediately furious. Stop arguing. An old man in the Zuanayan period of the Ying family looked ugly and said, haven't you noticed yet? The treasure that protects the city is gone. The remaining 3 people realized that something was wrong. Then, there was an irrepressible long laugh, rising from low to high. Ha 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 ha. At this time, a one-eyed middle-aged man with long hair appeared from the city wall, holding a grey jade mirror in his hand, fiddling with it casually. Are you looking for this? Who are you? How dare you? Put down the treasure mirror. Everyone was shocked. Chen Jing narrowed his eyes. No one recognized me. It's only been 20 years. At this time, the old man of the Ying family's pupils contracted. Are you Chen Jing? It's me, 4th grandpa, and everyone else. How are you? Why did you come back without permission and take the treasure mirror without permission? Of course it's to take back everything I have. Chen Jing interrupted angrily. He grinned, his eyes filled with murderous intent, and in a blink of an eye, everything around him changed. The strong evil spirit turned into substance, and a beast appeared behind him, bearing its fangs and claws, extremely ferocious. The old man of the Ying family widened his eyes. Visions appear, flowers bloom. You have actually reached this level. Ha 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 ha, you didn't expect it, old thing. What a pity, now you don't have the chance to regret it. Part of the inner city has been dealt with. Now, it's your turn. The ferocious beast roared and rushed towards everyone. Chapter 64. Chen Jing shows off his power. Huayin will become famous. The 5 Zuanayan stage monks fought in a group. However, the 4 Zuanayan stage monks from the Duan and Ying families were no match for Chen Jing alone. Chen Jing was unarmed and did not use any magic tools. He relied on his fists and feet. Every punch and kick was assisted by the beasts, and he easily tore the magic tools that were rushing towards him. Chen Jing folded his arms and stood in the air, as if he didn't take the 4 people in front of him seriously. I have been fighting in the battlefield outside the domain for 20 years, struggling to survive, forming a top grade 7 color Zuanayan and a top grade foundation of Taoism. With my talent, I should have entered the Qingnang sect to practice and touch the great Dao. At the very least, I could be the master of the family and steer the family. But because of the conspiracy and framing of you insects, I have been forced to live with beasts and fight against alien races for 20 years. What a pity, what a pity. Do you think that I can't come back after being exiled to the battlefield outside the domain? The murderous aura filled the air. Chen Jing sighed at the time. No one dared to move. The 4 people only felt that their key was completely locked. Even the flow of magic power became sluggish. At this time they still had a chance to defend with all their strength, but the moment they attacked, they would die if they revealed a flaw. Let me teach you to see my vision. Its name is walking with evil. Roar. After saying that, Chen Jing had already rushed towards the middle-aged man in Taoist robes of the Ying family. With a wave of his hand, the shape of the ferocious beast appeared behind him, shook his head and howled, and gently scratched, leaving a bloody claw mark of more than 10 feet in the air. Puff! The middle-aged man in Taoist robes immediately exploded into a blood mist. G. The others saw clearly that at that moment, G had already controlled the 3rd level magic weapon Qingshan seal to block in front of him, but they never thought that he could not resist even for a moment. Chen Jing looked at the falling body and couldn't help but sneer. Still in the early stage of Zuanayan? You can't even block my attack. You were not as good as me in the past, and now, you are even worse than me. Chen Jing. You. Old thing, don't worry, the next one is you. Do you know the claws and teeth of the beast behind me? How dare you? The old man of the Ying family showed a vision, and the mountains appeared hazily. This is a vision. Floating mountain. When the vision appears, the magic power is as heavy as the mountains and can easily suppress the opponent. At the same time, the two Zuanayan period of the Duan family attacked together. Duan Fei, who is also in the middle stage of Zuanayan, showed a vision, and a magnificent palace unfolded from his feet, and many steps were laid to the distance, with a treasure on each step. This is a vision, golden house. When the vision appears, the treasure condensed by the vision briefly turns into a physical entity. The three visions collided together. Good. Ying Chen Dao the beast stood up, with its ferocious horns against the mountains, roaring with its mouth, and the sound waves rolled, shattering all the flying magic weapons. The first person to be injured was Duan Lai, who had the lowest realm. He was caught in the middle, and was seriously injured by the aftermath of the three people. He fell on the spot and his life or death was unknown. Next was Duan Fei, whose golden house vision was shattered. Finally, it was the old man of the Ying family. The Fashion vision tried his best to suppress the beast, but was carried up by the beast vision. The Tao has not yet blossomed, and the vision is nothing but illusion. You are too weak. The family asked you to wait until you are 20 or 30 years old to condense the foundation of Tao, but at the age of 50, 60, 70, or 80, you are still stuck at the condensation foundation or vision. With such a mind and such a heart of Tao, how dare you steal a high position? Ying Chen Dao hugged his arms and walked towards the old man of the Ying family step by step. The old man's magic power could not resist the erosion of the evil spirit, and he almost couldn't stand firm. He glared at Ying Chen Dao. So what if you are good at fighting? You will definitely follow in my footsteps after committing such murderous deeds. Ha 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 ha, what a joke. My Fu sect was harmed by your Fa sect. Aren't you bullying my Fu sect for not being good at cultivation and fighting? How can you, an old man, say such a thing? Watch out. Now, I, Ying Chen Dao, am the strongest. Who in the entire Anning prefecture dares to disobey me? Under the old man's shocked and angry eyes, Ying Chen Dao punched him on the forehead. Then, the two people from the Duan family followed in his footsteps. Ying Chen Dao restrained his vision and looked at the mess. The city wall, which had been smashed open with a gap, collapsed directly after the battle just now. The once towering solid wall has now become a ruin. The strong wind passed through these cracks and gaps, whistling past, stirring up the dust in the sky. Ying Chen Dao was very satisfied with this overwhelming battle, but what greatly dampened his interest was that there were no bystanders. The people around were busy escaping, crying and shouting. It was a mess. Boring. Wait until I become the lord of the house, then I will come to save you. Ying Chen said and turned away. What? Dead? And the city is broken? The Duan and Ying families almost couldn't breathe when they heard the bad news outside. They immediately withdrew the clan soldiers who were cleaning up the tree people outside, guarded in the inner city, and huddled together. As for the city wall, it was used to isolate the ordinary people from the small fish. Without the treasure to protect the city wall is meaningless. In addition to the Zuanayan period monks who were sent out and killed, some Zuanayan period monks in the city were also killed. For example, the Zuanayan period monks who were guarding the treasure of the city together in the two families were left with only corpses, and many people were missing, and their lives and deaths were unknown. The two families no longer dared to think about it. All their strength was concentrated on protecting the family, and a large formation was deployed to prepare for it. The tree people who lost the cleaning of the nobles were completely out of control. The outer city area soon became a paradise for the tree people. They destroyed everything they saw, and killed each other. If there was nothing to destroy, the survivors could only escape. Now there are only 3 safe places. The inner city is one of them. Although there is a big hole, the previous battle was so horrifying that no tree people went here. In addition, it was outside the city. In the east of the city managed by Chen Jing, all the weaker tree people were killed, and the strong tree people were led away. In the chaos, many ordinary people in the east of the city also turned into tree people, but they kept their rationality and became part of the force to fight against the invading tree people. Unexpectedly, it was the west of the city, the Huayan society. They actually stood firm under the chaos of the tree people. Whenever a tree person started a killing spree in the Huayan society, there would be victims of the Huayan society who stood up. They shouted a bunch of incomprehensible words such as family, bond, and future, and transformed into tree people on the spot, killing the foreign tree people one by one. The tree people transformed by the Hawaiian society members only have a little rationality. In addition to not attacking family members of the Hawaiian society, they also have a strong desire to destroy outsiders. At this time, Mealy, the leader of the Hawaiian society, would stand up. With just one word, he could make the alienated Hawaiian society tree people regain their sanity and obey orders. Under the protection of many Hawaiian society tree people, the Hawaiian society also gained a firm foothold and took this opportunity to rescue other disaster victims and strengthen the Hawaiian society. The chaos lasted for several days. The entire Anning prefecture, except for the inner city, has become a paradise for tree people, but they belong to different camps. In the east of the city, there are tree people under the rule of the Chen family. In the west of the city, there are Hawaiian society tree people, and the largest number of chaotic tree people. Chapter 65. Gods and Ghosts Cover the Sky. Old Master Key looked at Anning Mansion from afar. The place that once made him yearn for it infinitely and never wanted to leave, was now in the center of the war and in danger. It was hard for him not to sigh. In addition, there was a trace of luck. He didn't expect that when he went to attack the boy of the Chen family, he turned into a tree man by chance and avoided a lot of troubles later. Old Master Key was a little surprised that the leader tree man, who had always said that he wanted to flatten the city, stopped outside the city and just watched from afar. "What are you waiting for?" he thought casually, but he didn't expect that the leader tree man suddenly stretched out a branch towards him, as if he heard his voice. "Zioki, I'm ready and we'll go to the city. The leader will definitely be unstoppable and invincible when he goes there." Ha ha ha. The leader tree man seemed to have heard something very funny and laughed for a long time. "Chief. Don't call me chief. Actually, I'm just an old countryman from Yangjia village, Langma County, who makes a living by digging the soil. You are the high and mighty immortal master." Exposed. Old Master Key was shocked, but he felt the terrifying aura of the chief tree man at close range and calculated the chances of success. He couldn't help but feel sad. This time he is definitely going to die. At the same time, he was extremely ashamed and angry. He was the old master of the Key family, old and of noble origin, but he was teased by a country farmer for so long. Old Man Yang laughed again and said, "Last time I noticed that although you and I are both tree people, you don't have any deep hatred in your heart. Without hatred as nourishment, how can you become a tree person comparable to the Zuanayan period? Humph, since you have noticed it, I will not pretend anymore. That's right, I'm a member of the Key family of Zizu and Panch Mountain. Others respect me as Old Master Key. Today I fall into your hands. You can kill me or chop me up as you wish." Sure enough. How did you become a tree person? A kid caught me while I was not checking and instantly refined me into this appearance. After listening to Old Master Key's explanation, Old Man Yang pondered for a moment and said, "There are such strange people who can even tamper with the spores of Lord Chyangan. I was blinded by hatred and only knew how to kill. After contacting you recently, I have recovered some of my sanity." Old Master Key finally realized why he, the newcomer, was so popular and had been brought around by this guy. "What did that kid do to me?" Old Man Yang continued. "I hesitated here because I realized that this journey was my end." "Why do you say that?" "Although I'm an old man digging in the countryside, after I became a tree man, my 9 orifices were opened, and the Lord of Heaven descended to teach me, so I have a better understanding of worldly affairs. Lord of Heaven personally enlightened me, so that I can destroy the city, block the treasure that protects the city, and destroy the nobles in the inner city." At this point, the voice of Old Man Yang was a little complicated. "I hate you masters who ride on my head and suck my blood. The immortal master who killed my son is now in the city. If I can kill you all with my life, I will be more than happy. But if I go, there are countless families who will be broken up and killed because of me." Old Master Key said, "You have a conscience. This conscience is not enough." Huh. Old Master Key suddenly felt that the Old Man Yang's voice became gloomy, and then a large piece of branches and leaves covered it completely like a lid. Screams, muffled sounds, and digestion sounds like chewing sounded. In this way, conscience is enough. That day, a large number of powerful tree people emerged from the Jiachang Mountains and headed straight for the city of Anning Prefecture. The leading tree person was like a 1,000-year-old giant tree, with a broad trunk like the wall of an ancient temple. Twisted runes were engraved on the rough bark. His eyes were like two bottomless black holes, which contained strong anger and resentment. Whenever it moved to a place, the sunlight behind it would dim, as if it was pulling a black curtain and slowly engulfing the entire land. Any living creatures along the way were scrambling to flee. In the city, the Duan and dying families used magic to observe this giant tree demon, and their hearts were cold. Is that Shenzang? Demons are not called Shenzang. They should be called the realm of gods and ghosts. I don't know who corrected the wording, and then there was a dead silence. Demons of this level should not appear here at all. They should be in the extraterritorial battlefield outside Jiazhou. What is the King Nang sect doing? At this point, they still don't need the Chen Jing. Duan slammed the table and roared out of control, looking up to the sky and cursing. Do you have to wait until all the people in Anning Mansion die before coming? There was no response from the sky, only the strong wind was still swirling. Someone said, if the treasure of the city is still there, the 4th level demon can also be killed. But the treasure of the city is lost. Use all your resources and defend to the end. Duan roared. East district of the city. Chen Jing watched the slowly opening black curtain, gradually spreading. The huge city was soon completely engulfed by the dark sky, and the darkness was still spreading around. The surroundings became darker and darker, like 5 o'clock in the morning on a rainy day, and everything was drowsy. Looking up, the outlines of branches and leaves were reflected on the clouds, as if the sky had become a place for tree monsters to grow, and branches were entangled on the crescent. Chen Jing felt powerless. This scene was beyond his understanding, let alone solving it. It's a 4th level demon. Hua Qingsha remained calm, walked to his side, and whispered, 4th level demons have innate magical powers, and can tamper with one side. The tampered area is also called the realm of gods and ghosts. If a cultivator can cultivate into a divine treasure, he also has similar domain capabilities. Is there any way? Chen Jing asked. There is a treasure mirror in the city that can kill demons. Then I'll go to the inner city. Together. Chen Jing looked at Hua Qingsha, who was ready to go. It was obvious that she was not joking. How are your injuries? Not healed, but without me, you wouldn't know how to use a treasure mirror in front of you. Okay. At this time, there was no need to say more. If you don't want to leave it to fate, you can only enter the city and come to the center of all the vortexes. Then there is hope to do something. Chen Jing recalled if there was anything else he had missed. The Chen family was all on the east side of the city. King Neo Mountain and the outer city were already deserted, but Xiaoman was still in Hualien Lake at this time. Since it returned to Hualien Lake, it has been sleeping. This sleeping king. I hope that, when he wakes up again, the sun will be shining. Let's go. Chen Jing went out directly. Along the way, the huge tree people lowered their eyes. They used to be victims of disasters protected by the Chen family, but now they are protecting the Chen family from the impact of chaos. Of course, it is also to protect their newly rebuilt home. Accompanied by the dim skylight, Chen Jing and Hua Qingsha went to the inner city hand in hand. Chapter 66, An Adventure in the Inner City, a Total Destruction. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have dared to imagine that this was the Anning Mansion, where I had lived for more than 10 years. Chen Jing came to the outer city area. At this time, the night was falling, the moonlight was like fog, and the abandoned houses were swallowed by bushes, leaving only scattered ruins. The air was filled with the smell of soil and rotten wood. The stone road seemed to have been abandoned for decades and became uneven. The stone lanterns on both sides were vaguely visible, watching over the silent long street. The two walked slowly along the street, stepping over a loose tile, making a crisp cracking sound. How did it become like this? Looking at all the unfamiliar things, Chen Jing was full of confusion. Hua Qingsha took out a small green bottle from the storage bag and dripped emerald green liquid. The liquid burned in the air and turned into a small flame suspended in the air. She stretched out her hand, dragging the small flame, and walked to Chen Jing's side. Since the 4th realm of cultivation, one has the ability to change the world. This 4th level demon is not ordinary, and the realm of gods and ghosts is very large. It must have swallowed the mysterious scene of Jiachang Mountain and refined it into the realm so that it can cover the entire inner and outer city. Follow me, this flame can ensure that we don't lose our way. Seeing Chen Jing catch up, Hua Qingsha nodded lightly and continued, the changes in the realm of gods and ghosts are just illusions. After breaking through, everything will return to the original state, but if the time is too long, there will be no way. We need to hurry up. Yes. Chen Jing took 2 steps closer to her. The road was quiet and long, passing through a dilapidated market. The wooden door of the blacksmith shop passing by was corroded. The wind chimes swayed in the breeze, making a sad ding-dong sound. In the unmanned medicine shop, the withered smell of herbs mixed with dust, revealing an ancient and distant smell. To the entrance of the inner city, as far as the eye can see, the city wall is broken, and the city gate is half open. The wind passes through the empty city tower, making a whimpering sound. Be careful, Hua Qingsha whispered. Okay. It was only a moment after she agreed. Chen Jing suddenly saw a light, and there were faint laughter and shadows. He walked forward in a trance. After turning the corner, there was a bustling street, with colorful lanterns hanging on the roadside, swaying and shining. The vendors were carrying their loads, and the hawking sounds came one after another. The sweet candied haws, the fragrant barbecue, and the aroma of various snacks intertwined in the air. Street performers showed their unique skills, acrobatics, face changing, and diabolo, attracting passers-by to stop and watch, cheers, and laughter. At this time, a sonorous singing voice came from behind. The wild wilderness is full of blood, and the bones are piled up with no place to bury. Chen Jing turned around and looked. I don't know when the stage was set up behind me. The audience gathered in a circle, standing or sitting, concentrating on enjoying the performance on the stage. On the ancient stage, an actor in armor glared at him, holding a bright sword, and chopped him down, singing opera. A breath of anger soaring to the sky. The sword slashed from top to bottom, leaving a startling blade of light. Chen Jing's eyes regained clarity, and he broke out in a cold sweat. In an instant, his muscles became firm as if they were inflated. He clasped his hands together and blocked the sword. The actor shouted loudly, his face flushed red, as if it was about to drip blood, but he couldn't make the sword fall. Hey! Chen Jing pushed the actor to the ground with brute force, rushed over and smashed his iron fist, shaking the earth. Chen Jing, what are you doing? At this time, Hua Qingsha's voice came from the side. Be careful of sneak attacks, eh? Chen Jing turned over, but there was no actor, only an empty stage. The stage looked particularly eerie under the moonlight. The painted decorations on the stage had peeled off. Only a big knife was stuck on a weapon rack with a torn costume on it. What did you see? Hua Qingsha held a small candle and looked at him worriedly. Just now you suddenly ran towards a place and then pounded the ground as if fighting with something. Didn't you see it? I just saw a lot of people here. Chen Jing told what he saw and heard, and then he exclaimed. His attention was attracted by the big knife on the stage. He jumped onto the stage and pulled out the rotten big knife. Indistinctly, the angry shout of the general seemed to echo. I can't eat your flesh in this life. You will be king again when I come. The opera voice gradually faded, and the costume hanging on it turned into ashes. The last thing left in his mind was a spell called Slashing the Sky. Chen Jing smiled and said, I seem to have acquired an attacking spell. I wonder if it is powerful or not. Hua Qingsha's eyes flashed with envy, and she said, it is probably because this tree demon swallowed the mysterious scene in the 9-layered mountain in one gulp, and some of the opportunities in it were not digested in time, so they manifested together in the realm of gods and ghosts. Although she was a descendant of the King Nang sect, and had everything she needed, she had never experienced such an opportunity. Chen Jing said, I finally went down to this secret realm. I didn't go to the secret realm, but the secret realm took the initiative to find me. At this moment, he really felt that he might be the protagonist of the world. At this time, a faint flame flickered. Hua Qingsha looked down, thought for a while, and pointed in a direction. Let's go there. Yeah. Chen Jing nodded, and suddenly her hand was held by her. She said seriously, this way you won't be confused by the realm of gods and ghosts, and lose your direction. Thank you, Teacher Zaya. But if you encounter any treasures later, it will be mine. Okay. Chen Jing felt that he had to change his bad habit of being moved at every turn. He didn't encounter any treasures along the way. Following Teacher Zaya's instructions, as expected, there were unusual fluctuations in front of them. Huge branches were seen protruding from the swirling sky, attacking the magnificent buildings below again and again. And below, the brilliance of spells and magic tools intertwined, and the spirit symbols were flying. The terrible collision bloomed in the sky, breaking the branches falling from the sky. It's the nobles in the inner city, and they are under attack. They can't hold on any longer. What should we do? Chen Jing asked, and Hua Qingsha immediately pulled him back and said, of course, stay away from them. Teacher Zaya, do you really have a pure heart? This girl is not stupid. The two hurriedly left, and soon, the angry roar of the Zuan period monk came from behind. In an instant, terrible fluctuations brewed, trembled, and the ripples of destruction spread out, cutting off all the roots in the sky. At the same time, the destructive force spread to the surroundings. Everything around was like autumn wind sweeping fallen leaves. Buildings were destroyed in pieces, and the earth was torn apart. Run. The powerful families are using all their power to destroy us all. Hua Qingsha was horrified, and the next second, Chen Jing grabbed her by the waist and picked her up. He showed his true martial arts body, activated the acceleration talisman at the same time, and ran as fast as he could, but was still swept up by the fatal aftermath. At the last moment, he only had time to crawl on the spot and try his best to protect Hua Qingsha, and then there was a deafening roar, and he could not feel anything. Chapter 67, Chance Encounter. PFFT. Brushing off the dust on his face, Chen Jing got up from the ground. After confirming that there was no danger outside, he pulled Teacher Zaya up from under him. Is Teacher Zaya okay? I'm fine. It's unexpected that the wealthy family has such a method of destroying everything together. When it comes to destroying everything together, this method is meaningless. Where should we go next? Not for now. A small flame appeared in Hua Qingsha's palm again, pointing to the front and saying, the wealthy family's residents can leave some good things, especially the formation base, which is valuable. It's not a good idea to do this. You say it's not good, but you walk fast. She quickened her pace to keep up. The two came to the wealthy family's residence. Surprisingly, the surrounding buildings were all razed to the ground, but this place, as the center of the collision, was roughly intact, which shows that their base camp is made of very solid materials. Chen Jing didn't see any living people or dead people. I don't know if they turned into ashes or escaped in other ways. He must have escaped, but people can escape, but things can't. Follow me. Hua Qingsha turned around and came to the center of the station. Have you seen this? Most of the clan protection formations used by the nobles in the capital city are from the Bidao formation series, which integrates defense, vigilance, counterattack, and production. It is fully functional, easy to operate, and affordable. There are 7 formation bases in this formation. I took a look and only Xianshu, Qianji, and Yaoguang are still intact. Then he ordered Chen Jing to smash open a 3-meter high stone statue. After smashing it, golden light suddenly appeared. The bright starlight condensed on a square box. This is Xianji, also known as Wang, the control center of the entire Bidao formation. Just take it away. Chen Jing followed suit and put it away. Then, under the guidance of Teacher Zaya, he dug out other formation bases from the other 6 directions. Hua Qingsha said, the Big Dipper formation can divide yin and yang, establish 4 seasons, balance the 5 element, move the seasons, determine the various periods, and all changes are related to the Dipper. Of course, it is limited to the formation, but it is also valuable enough. Can it allow me to farm the land however I want? Of course, even our King Nang sect uses the Big Dipper formation. This formation comes from the immortal sects of other continents, and is very good. When she said this, she didn't know what she remembered, and Hua Qingsha suddenly fell down. Chen Jing didn't notice it. He only realized that he finally had a proper greenhouse, a super smart greenhouse with constant light and temperature, and can adjust the seasons at will. Let's go after you take it. There may be some treasures, but the most valuable and convenient thing is this set of formation bases. If we can solve everything smoothly, I will help you set up the formation. Thank you. On the other side, As soon as the tree man leader arrived in the city, Jing Chan, who was squatting nearby, followed him in. As expected of a powerful guy who has always made me feel a sense of him, he suppressed the nobles in the city with one move. If I could become such a strong man. Jing Chan's heart was burning. He followed his intuition and walked in a direction in the inner city. Not long after, he found a group of people in a mess. Among them, he saw a few familiar faces. Duan Xiang, the steward of the Duan family. The steward Duan, who used to be high and mighty and bossy, now looked at a loss and frightened. It's over. The Duan family is over. Dad, let's run away. Run. Ha 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 ha. The head of the family is dead. The formation is broken. How can we run away? Duan Sheng, the son, looked at his father's appearance and felt extremely unfamiliar. The majestic figure who was sure to win and could make others respect him with his words and deeds was completely different from the middle-aged man who was more frightened than himself. Duan Sheng said, Dad, we must be the only ones who escaped. The Duan family will be rebuilt sooner or later. So what if we rebuild? Duan Xiang's hands were deeply inserted into his hair and he kept repeating it's over. At this time, Jing Chan came over with interest and said, Manager Duan, long time no see, do you still remember me? Hualien Lake, Jing family Jing Chan. It's you? Duan Xiang was still in a daze, but Duan Sheng recognized him at once and stood up and scolded, where are you from? Lead the way, take us out. Oh, why? Jing Chan's smile was full of mockery. Stupid, you don't know what your father meant by it's over. Let me tell you, because your father is self-aware and knows that everything he has is because you have a good background and because you are surnamed Duan. Now that the Duan family is gone, even if you are alive, you are just useless insects. Bold. Duan Sheng shouted angrily. Then, with a snap, Duan Xiang slapped his son in the face. He was furious and said, rebellious son, get out. Dad, I told you to get out. Duan Xiang was almost screaming with all his strength. This appearance frightened Duan Sheng instantly. He was completely unable to think and could only instinctively run in the opposite direction. Then, he heard the laughter of the Jingchen. The laughter stimulated him to be extremely uncomfortable. What kind of thing dared to laugh in front of him, so unscrupulous? However, Duan Sheng turned around and saw that his father had been easily strangled by the other party and held high. How dare you? How dare you? Duan Sheng was extremely angry, but fear was 100 times stronger than anger. He immediately turned around and ran away, tears blurring his eyes. He kept running and running. He couldn't tell the direction and couldn't see the road ahead. Suddenly, the familiar street came into view. This was the Duan family mansion. Subconsciously, he ran back to the place that gave him the greatest sense of security. Then he saw a man and a woman walking out of the Duan family leisurely. Chen Jing looked at the embarrassed man in front of him, who fell down in front of his feet. His expression became very amusing for a while. I remember you. Your name is Duan Sheng. What happened? Why are you running so fast? Are you from the Chen family? Duan Sheng looked at Chen Jing's face, revealing a look of reminiscence. He vaguely remembered that this year he went with his father to collect PO and rice from various families, including the Chen family. At that time, he controlled the flying sword and lightly cut through bags of PO and rice, causing the golden rice to fall to the ground, and then stepped on it wantonly and asked the Chen family to reload it. This was something he learned from his father and imitated what his father did. He felt very accomplished. At that time, he was very careful and looked at the faces of the Chen family carefully. It was fun to be angry, but not to speak. Perhaps this was also the reason. The young man with a half-smile expression in front of him left an impression on him. You have a good memory. You recognized him. Chen Jing squatted down, patted Duan Sheng on the shoulder, and said, what's wrong? The fool of the housekeeper's family. Why are you so embarrassed? You dare to disrespect me. Sorry, I accidentally revealed my true intention. Chen Jing didn't mind the dirtiness and brushed away the hair stuck on his cheek and admired his fierce expression. He asked suddenly, do you still remember what you did at that time? Duan Sheng wanted to forget it, but his trembling body obviously understood something first. Live well. If you survive, remember to owe me a life-saving grace. Chen Jing patted his face, then took out a handkerchief, wiped his hands very carefully, threw away the handkerchief, and turned away. Just left like that? Duan Sheng breathed a sigh of relief and prepared to hide back in the Duan mansion, but what puzzled him was that he didn't move at all. He was stunned and looked down. At some point, his legs had disappeared. Chapter 68. People have limits, so. The calm didn't last long. But a moment later, another strong wave that shook the entire realm of gods and ghosts came from another direction. That was the Ying family's residence. Chen Jing said, "Do we still need to go there? Things have come to this point. The 4 great families in the inner city have died one after another in just half a year, and Anning Mansion has turned into a ghost domain and a ruin." Hua Qingsha said, "There may be some benefits if we go there. Why do you feel that you are not here to find the treasure mirror, but to hunt for treasure? Even if this girl is a direct disciple, this opportunity to make a fortune is rare. In fact, I have been tracking the treasure mirror. The treasure mirror was in the Duan family just now, and now it is in the Ying family. It means that the treasure mirror is in someone's hands, and that person is watching the 2 families perish. Are there any masters? The forces in the inner city have been destroyed one by one. Whatever plan this person has, he should reveal it." Hua Qingsha nodded. At this time, after a high-intensity battle, the Ying family's formation was also broken. The Ying family members were either dead or fled, leaving only this magnificent and huge mansion with carved beams and painted rafters. A footstep slowly stepped in here, but it was a one-eyed man. "After all, you let me come back. I have to thank you. Without you, even if I have invincible power, it would be difficult to deal with the 2 families hiding in the big formation." Ying Chendao opened his arms and embraced the nostalgic atmosphere of Ying Mansion with satisfaction. Then he opened his eyes and greeted the sight from the swirling clouds in the sky. The former old man Yang, now the leader of the tree people, a 4th level demon, laughed mockingly in the sky. "I also want to thank you. Without you taking away the treasure of the city, I can't easily get here. It's better to say that this inner city is not broken by me, but it's all because of you. This is a match made in heaven." Ying Chendao laughed loudly. "Then how can you stop me?" With the question of the tree demon. Above the sky, the wind gathered, and the clouds rolled, and the huge monster revealed its full appearance from the dark clouds. This scene is difficult for mortal eyes to see, but if you use the broad perspective of a cultivator, you can see the terrible scene. The huge tree demon was hanging upside down under the sky, its branches like ancient stone pillars, densely covered with moss of the years. The roots were tangled and intertwined, forming giant nets or curtains, hanging across the sky. The tree demon's trunk was as wide as a mountain range, and dark green mist was faintly visible between the old skin lines, covering the entire city. "Who are you trying to scare?" Ying Chendao was not afraid of this scene, and he sneered, and took out the treasure mirror from his arms. He bowed to the treasure mirror. He said, "Please use the treasure mirror to kill the demon." The great treasure mirror did not react at all. Ying Chendao was stunned. "Please use the treasure mirror to kill the demon. Please use the treasure mirror to kill the demon." Baojian, Baojian, what's wrong with you, Baojian? No matter how Ying Chendao shouted or fiddled with it, the treasure mirror was like a stone, without any reaction. He gurgled and swallowed his saliva. His scalp was numb. The treasure mirror kills demons to protect the people. You say I'm a demon, but is there a possibility that I'm a civilian? In the sky, the huge tree demon laughed playfully. "Bullshit. How can a civilian be like you?" Ying Chendao cursed. "Ha ha 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 ha." The tree demon laughed wildly, and his laughter was angry and shrill. "Only those who are well dressed and well fed are allowed to be civilians? Only those who have thousands of acres of fertile land, beautiful wives and concubines are allowed to be civilians? Only those who take human lives lightly and have no respect for the king's law are allowed to be civilians?" His voice became angrier and more resentful than the last word, and everything in the entire realm of gods and ghosts trembled with his anger. Ying Chendao took several steps back. He was still not convinced in his heart. "Of course we are civilians, but you mud-legged people are not civilians." Suddenly, the tree demon was silent by this sentence. The silence lasted for a long time. "I thought that the masters were just evil. But now it seems that the masters really don't treat us as grass, as human beings. In this case, let you know the anger in our hearts, let you understand that we are human beings. What a gift it is to you. The sky suddenly dimmed. Aing Chendao was completely covered by the shadow of the huge branches that fell down. Behind him, a huge beast appeared. He raised his hands and took the blow with a loud bang. He roared and tore the branches apart, with murderous aura like the sea. Angry? Ha 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 ha. What's the use of being angry? This is the way of the world. You are not as strong as me. Why do you dare to treat yourself as a human being? Not only was he not afraid, but he laughed and mocked, and his one eye was full of madness. When I, Ying Chendao, was not as skilled as others, I was also a dog wagging its tail. I'm the young master of the Aing family, but I still have to endure the hardships of the world. If you want to be a human, let's see who is stronger and who is weaker, who lives and who dies. Ying Chendao walked in the air, facing the tree monster without dodging or avoiding, and unexpectedly did not lose the upper hand at all. The appearance of the ferocious beast behind him matched its form and spirit, biting and moving, and the battle was extremely fierce. Countless life and death battles. Countless times of enduring humiliation in exchange for a turning now. He only knows one thing. Under me, everyone is a straw dog. Above me, everyone should be killed, and only the strong are worthy of ruling and owning everything. Waste, you have huge power, but don't know how to use it. How can you fight me? Fight me. Ying Chendao shouted while attacking. He didn't know how many times he tore the branches that fell from the sky and how many times he was slapped into the depths of the earth. But as he said, the tree demon's strength was dozens of times his, but he could hardly use it at all. He only attacked instinctively, so he used his rich combat experience to break through the surface and use local advantages to continuously expand the results of the battle. I can win. Boom. Aing Chendao soared into the air and leaped into the depths of the sky. He saw the Daoji hidden in the deepest part. This was the weakness and the core of the realm of gods and ghosts. He merged with the beast and fought hard. Then a huge force came back, spitting blood and flying back, smashing into the depths of the earth. It's broken. Aing Chendao reacted and realized that there was still a huge gap in size. So he attacked the weak core with all his strength, but was seriously injured by the plain recoil. When you were a human, you oppressed me wantonly. Now I'm not a human. You can afford the price. The tree demon had not finished speaking. Suddenly, a mirror light shone. Aing Chendao and the tree demon looked at it in astonishment. At some point, a man and a woman mixed into the battlefield and picked up the treasure mirror that was thrown here during the battle. The treasure mirror has two uses. One is automatic. The divine object has spirits and will naturally be activated at the right time. The King Nang sect threw this treasure here because it is the biggest insurance. Hua Kingsha's white palm brushed across the surface of the treasure mirror. But this is only for the nobles. In fact, if the divine object is unwilling to move, the King Nang sect also has a secret method to force it to move. This secret method is only known by some people. Coincidentally, I'm qualified. The treasure mirror trembled slightly. I know that the treasure mirror sympathizes with the tree monster and does not recognize the nobles, but the god and ghost domain has lasted too long, which is not appropriate. Please ask the treasure mirror to do it. The treasure mirror. Please ask the treasure mirror to do it. The treasure mirror. I'm giving you face. Don't make me say it for the third time. Swish. The treasure mirror suddenly burst into divine light and shone on the tree monster. In an instant, the core of the tree monster collapsed, and the entire god and ghost domain slowly collapsed. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69 Frostmourne. Be careful, the tree demon still has some strength left. Hua Kingsha said. Chen Jing nodded, but the expected dying counterattack did not come. Instead, the tree demon was trying its best to slow down the collapse of the realm of gods and ghosts. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the two of them evacuated at the same time. Then, the sky turned upside down, The sun and the moon turned upside down. The world became chaotic and collapsed towards destruction. Chen Jing only had time to hold Hua Qingsha tightly, and then he seemed to be thrown into a drum washing machine. In the violent turbulence, he gritted his teeth and tried his best to protect each other. At the same time, the treasure mirror also slipped out of his hand because it could not be put into the storage bag and turned into a stream of light and flew to an unknown place. Chen Jing, who was the most powerful, struggled to get up. He used the mysterious seal vision to fix the surroundings, stood up, and walked towards the light in front. The fourth stage of demons is a realm of gods and ghosts, which corresponds to the fourth stage of cultivators as the god hidden stage. This stage means that the cultivator's application of spiritual power has reached a high level and then began to touch the essence of the great Dao and the law. The mysterious seal is just the first experience of the Tao, a seed that has not yet sprouted. The divine hidden realm is a tree that blooms and grows. Chen Jing wanted to take advantage of the collapse of the realm to obtain the most important treasure, which is the source of the law condensed by the fourth level tree demon and the foundation of the Tao. He walked step by step towards the center of the storm. Finally, the surroundings calmed down. A glowing illusory ancient tree was in front of him, emitting a mysterious Tao rhyme. Mine. Chen Jing grinned, strode forward, and stretched out his hand. Then, the illusory ancient tree suddenly disappeared, and the abundant spiritual rhyme was swallowed up and absorbed by a person in an instant. That person was Jingchen. Chen Jing was startled, and then he became furious, staring at Jingchen, who was sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed, his teeth clattering. Jingchen's expression was painful at this time, but under the Tao of the glowing ancient tree, the painful expression was slightly relieved. However, Chen Jing, whose chance was taken away, would not just watch it. He roared and then struck with thunder, a blow that could tear apart the branches of a fourth level demon tree, and landed fiercely on Jingchen's forehead. Bang! Exclamation mark. Jingchen suddenly opened his eyes, his long hair flying, and the few clear eyes were completely occupied by the dark and thick evil spirit. The cracks on his head that were caused by the slap closed slowly, revealing a grim smile. As long as I kill you, no one in Anning Mansion will dare to disturb my practice again. Where did you come from, you jerk? Die. The two fought frantically. After absorbing the spirit of the tree demon, Jingchen's body, which was already resistant to beating, became even stronger, and he stood firm under Chen Jing's continuous heavy blows. And Chen Jing seemed like a fighting machine that would not tire. With every punch and kick, he had both exquisite martial arts skills and exquisite magic. Boom. When the two were fighting fiercely, the world suddenly shook, and it was obvious that this realm of gods and ghosts was one step closer to complete collapse. At this time, the obscured sky also vaguely revealed the original appearance outside. At the edge, it seemed that the desolate land of the past few decades had gradually returned to its original appearance. The collapsed and broken buildings were intact, and the disappeared mortals were lying at home. I was wondering why the treasure mirror was reluctant to kill the tree monster. I never thought that the tree monster would use its magic power to protect these mortals. How could a demon born of resentment retain such a conscience? Chen Jing took the time to scan the surrounding changes with his consciousness and immediately solved a doubt in his heart. Then he felt ridiculous. It turned out that in the eyes of the treasure mirror, these mud-legged mortals were really civilians, so much so that they watched the tyrants being destroyed and did nothing. It's a pity that it was useless. Only those with strong strength are qualified to be civilians. After all, I'm better. After several rounds of fighting, Chen Jing slapped Jingchen under his feet with his backhand, stepped on his chest with his big feet, and looked disdainful. 1 or 2, do you really think that a temporary burst of species can withstand his 20 years of life and death? It's better to dream about the spring and autumn period. No, my fighting consciousness is far inferior to this person. I can only fight with my immortal body. If my immortal body is broken, will I die? Jingchen, who was stepped on, had a much clearer look in his eyes. At this time, the ground shook again, and more people were vomited out by the realm of gods and ghosts. Coincidentally, a woman in white landed next to Jingchen and Chen Jing, holding the treasure mirror that Hua Qingsha couldn't hold and dropped. The two people present were stunned at the same time, especially Aang Chendao. He looked at Aang Huayan in surprise. "My dear daughter, are you still alive?" Aang Huayan didn't answer, but climbed up calmly, looking at everything around, as if she realized something. Ha 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 ha. Aang Chendao's eyes fell on the treasure mirror in Aang Huayan's hand, and he laughed immediately. "Boy, God really wants to kill you. I can't break your golden body. How about the treasure mirror in my dear daughter's hand?" Aang Chendao kicked Jing Chan away. "My dear daughter, please ask the treasure mirror to help." Aang Huayan returned a cold look, raised the treasure mirror, and bowed. "Please ask the treasure mirror to eliminate harm for the people." With her clear and firm voice, the light of the treasure mirror shone on the entire city, and the remnants of the realm of gods and ghosts melted away like ice and snow. Jing Chan was extremely frightened and moved back, but he could only watch the indestructible light that could cut through everything hit him. Severe pain, fear of death came. Countless images echoed in his mind at once. The casual cultivator who killed the fifth brother, inducing Chen Jing to kill the fifth brother, the eldest brother who died in his hands, the family destroyed in his hands. The people who died in front of him seemed to come alive from his memory. They were asking, "Did you win?" I lost." At the end of his life, Jing Chan opened his eyes and looked at the father and daughter. However, what shocked him was that the one-eyed man who had suppressed him and made him powerless to fight back also dissolved in the mirror light. "No, no, Aang Huayan, what are you doing?" Aang Chendao screamed in pain. This man who had planned the destruction of the three noble families in the inner city and struggled to crawl back from the battlefield outside the domain. This man who faced the 4th level tree demon without losing the upper hand and had never met an opponent from beginning to end. At this time, his vitality dissipated in the miserable wailing. Because of his stronger recovery ability. So Jing Chan held on until he witnessed the whole process of Aang Chendao's complete death. Flesh and blood are torn apart, brothers and sisters are torn apart. Even if you are so strong, if there is no one to trust and be close to you, you are just a pitiful creature. At this moment, Jing Chan suddenly gave up his obsession with becoming stronger. He just missed home a little. He missed the mother who held him and gave him a warm embrace. Thinking of the eldest brother who taught me earnestly and was as kind as a father. And the great ambitions that the second brother often talked about, the hobbies that the third brother shared, the honest face of the fourth brother, the premature sigh of the fifth brother. Jing Chan shed tears. Wrong, all wrong. Chapter 70 Huayan Meeting. As the realm of gods and ghosts collapsed, Chen Jing was able to break free from the drum washing machine. He was thrown around for so long, but managed not to faint. Instead, he fell to the ground after everything calmed down. However, in the eyes of others, what they saw was that Chen Jing suddenly hugged Hua Qingsha tightly, and after hugging for a long time, he let go and fell asleep. Hua Qingsha's face was slightly red. Looking at Chen Jing who was sleeping soundly, she felt a little ashamed and angry, and wanted to laugh. The realm of gods and ghosts seems to change the world, but in fact it is between reality and illusion. Only by expanding the realm for a long time, counting in years, and comprehending the laws of the evolution of the avenue, can the reality be completely replaced. In other words, the 4th level tree demon, that looks like it covers the sky and the sun, and is invincible is more special effect than reality. The power of the earth-shattering blow is also exaggerated. After all, it is someone else's realm, so it is natural to create an invincible and terrifying posture. Therefore, when the last domain collapsed, Chen Jing felt that the explosion of the drum washing machine, which was like the destruction of the world, was actually just a soul attack on the consciousness, not a physical attack. Otherwise, it would be useless for him to hug Hua Qingsha, and his brain would be shaken. It can only be said that he was born in a low-class family and suffered from lack of education. Although Hua Qingsha understood everything, her strength had not recovered, and she really couldn't break away from Chen Jing, who used his martial soul true body and had a brute force comparable to that of a demon. Her consciousness was strong and unaffected, so she could only be awkwardly hugged until Chen Jing's consciousness could no longer hold on. "You took advantage of me, but you were kind-hearted. I don't know how to deal with you." She stared at Chen Jing angrily, gnashing her silver teeth, but looking at Chen Jing lying on the ground, she still said secretly, "Forget it this time. carried him on her back, and left the city. At this time, the surviving people in various parts of the inner and outer cities walked out of the streets one after another. They were specially protected by the tree demon, and not only were they fine, but their property was not lost. But the fear just now could not be faked. As the local emperor of Anning Prefecture, the 4 great families were destroyed one by one, leaving only some side branches. Obviously, there will be chaos for a while. It was already 10 days later, when Chen Jing recovered. It seems that I'm fine. Chen Jing opened his eyes from the bed, and saw the familiar ceiling. He moved his body, and felt the state. The feedback was surprisingly good. Among them, the change of spiritual consciousness was the most unique, because spiritual consciousness was the most sensitive, and could know the details without using it. He felt that in the past, the incarnation of spiritual consciousness only condensed for a moment, but now the duration and intensity have doubled, and the normal perception and detection ability has also been significantly improved. There was no change in the cultivation. All 9 orifices were open and the orifices were perfect. There was no sign of the Zuanayan period for the time being. Chen Jing completed the self-examination and pushed the door out. After coming out and taking a casual turn in the mansion, he saw the 3rd sister reading in the next room. The 3rd sister tied her hair into a bun and stared at the book as if she had a deep hatred for every word on it. After the collapse of the Divine Dynasty, both the common people and the cultivation world spontaneously inherited things from the Divine Dynasty. The books, etiquette, culture, etc. at that time were all key inheritance projects. The more well-off the family was, the more they paid attention to this set. Chen Jing knew that there had been emperors and government officials in this world, because these books always mentioned related concepts. Second brother, you woke up. Hearing the sound, the 3rd sister showed a look of surprise and quickly closed the book in her hand. Second brother, I missed you so much. You read first. No, I want my second brother. Second brother must have a lot to ask when he just woke up. There is no rush to read books now, the 3rd sister said righteously, and swept the books aside fiercely. Okay, who doesn't hate reading? Chen Jing smiled and said, then 3rd sister, tell me how many days I was gone, when I woke up, and what happened. Second brother slept for 15 days, half a month. Then, Chen Jing learned about the past few days from the 3rd sister. First, the 4th level demon in Jiachang Mountain was killed by the treasure mirror, and the biggest threat to the city was eliminated. The only remaining Duan and Ying families were both destroyed, but the development and accumulated prestige over the years have led to the 2 major families still existing. To be precise, it has been restored to 4 families. The main family was destroyed, but there are still collateral branches and branches. Even the Chen family has a lot of branches, not to mention the local emperors in the city. Of course, the strength is not as good as before. The war-damaged families who have lost most of their power and can only rely on the prestige they have accumulated in the past have become completely honest. They immediately issued a confession of guilt, publicly admitted their mistakes, and sent a lot of food and supplies, announcing that they would accept disaster victims into the inner city for relief. In addition to doing this, they usually hide in the inner city mansion, never leaving the door, showing an unprecedented well-behaved attitude, and completely lying down. Chen Jing was confused when he heard this. He clearly saw a one-eyed brother punching and kicking the 4th level tree demon, and he was very fierce. In the end, there was no news. Was it a kind person passing by? No, Teacher Zaya clearly said that someone stole the treasure mirror, which led to the destruction of the inner city and the destruction of the nobles. This person is the culprit. In short, there is no news about him. No family has come out to declare victory. For a time, there were only 2 forces in Anning Prefecture that were still capable of violence. One was the Chen family. The other was not the Jing family, but an organization that no one could have expected beforehand. The Huayan Society. Brother, the Huayan Society is so arrogant. They sent envoys and made a lot of demands to the 2 of us. What did they say? They asked us not to interfere with the normal development of the Huayan Society, but as soon as they opened their mouths, they asked our family for spiritual fields, food, and treasures. They also forced the people under the rule of our Chen family to join the Huayan Society. They didn't take us seriously at all. Why do they do that? Chen Jing wondered. Everyone in the Huayan society can turn into a tree man, but not everyone in the East District under our jurisdiction can turn into a tree man. We can't beat them at all. Moreover, they are not occupying by force, but luring them. I can't explain it clearly. Anyway, some people here think that it is not impossible to join the Huayan society. That's it. Chen Jing was thoughtful. Huayan society. He remembered the fanatical eyes of those people when he passed by. What sin have the common people committed? They touch dirty things every day. Chen Jing had a headache. If everyone in the Huayan society can really turn into a tree man, it seems that they can't beat them. As for the hard way, can we try the soft way? He thought about it for a while and threw away the idea. Playing with people's hearts compared with religious forces? He still has some self-knowledge. Ordinary tree men are not my opponents. I will find an opportunity to behead them. Chen Jing pondered in his heart. And there is another good news. The one from the Qingnang sect has arranged a small bidao formation for us. Now we can plant more land. Oh. Take me there. Chen Jing suddenly became interested. Chapter 71 The envoy arrives. The first thing you did when you woke up was not to come to me, but to see the spiritual plants in the formation. When Chen Jing straightened up and turned from facing the lowest to facing the source of the voice, he saw Hua Qingsha's pretty face with some anger. I just came here not long ago. You have been in the formation for 3 days. Huh. Chen Jing was shocked. Did time pass so quickly? He just came to take a look and then couldn't help but try it. And then. Looking at the handful of spiritual fields that had been tossed around, he realized that he might have really stayed for a long time. As a result, he forgot to care about the situation of teachers who went to the inner city with him. Farming is so interesting. Normally it's not that interesting. The main reason is that the formation set up by teachers is simply the fortune of heaven and earth, which shocked me greatly. Oh, teachers you came at the right time. I just happened to have a few operational questions. Chen Jing took the opportunity to ask about the adjustment techniques of related parameters such as seasons, temperature, light, and spiritual veins. Hua Qingsha rolled her eyes. You really did use it. Although she said it, she was still very clear in her teaching. All the operations were answered, and she also explained the principles of the formation. The formation has many similarities with the divine treasure. It is hard to say whether the creation of this realm borrowed from the formation, or this formation borrowed from this realm. Both are the study and imitation of the laws of heaven and earth. After listening for a long time, Chen Jing found that there were no details at all. Because the Qingnang sect is not good at formations, almost all the formations were bought. Hua Qingsha showed a depressed look. You will understand it later. I will teach you the simple ones first. Farming does not know time. The two stayed in the formation for a few more days, until Chen Jing sent someone over. Second young master, the head of the family asked you to go over. What's wrong? The envoys of the Huayan society are here again. TSK, I forgot about them. It's a good time for me to go and see. Although in the mouth of the third sister, the Huayan society is a very arrogant, lion-like, and repeatedly provocative evil organization. But they themselves are not aware of this. They position themselves as clean and simple as always. Disaster victims. Their attitude was also as usual, humble. Mr. Chen, I have long heard of your great name. I'm the envoy of Huayan, representing hundreds of thousands of disaster victims of Huayan society to visit you. Mr. Chen, the envoy, who looked ordinary, dressed in plain clothes, and had a simple expression, stood up immediately when he saw Chen Gu coming, and bowed slightly to show respect. This time, Chen Gu and Chen Jing came together for the reception. What's the matter? Chen Gu said bluntly. Wait. Chen Jing, who was following him, suddenly interrupted. You are not just an envoy, are you? Under his divine sense, this person's cultivation level was unknown. But a strong aura, similar to that of merit and vows, enveloped him like a raging fire. This young master. My name is Chen Jing. It's the second young master in person. The second young master has a keen eye. I do have responsibilities in the Huayan society, but this time, I'm only here as an envoy for hundreds of thousands of disaster victims. I've heard of the good reputation of the second young master of the Chen family. Since the disaster, only the second young master has been dedicated to relief. Everyone in Anning Prefecture knows your good name and your compassion. Excuse me for being frank, but if it weren't for the second young master, the disaster would have been over, and the entire Anning Prefecture should be grateful for your kindness. For some reason, this person knew Chen Jing's name, and he became excited all of a sudden. His eyes were burning, and he said a lot to Chen Jing with full emotion. Chen Jing leaned back slightly and said, providing relief to the victims is just a matter of convenience. It is not my own achievement. There is no need to exaggerate. If you have anything to say, just tell me directly. Please forgive me, second young master. I was overwhelmed with emotion just now, and could not control myself. The messenger straightened his clothes and bowed respectfully. Now there are hundreds of thousands of victims in Huayan society, who are short of food, and clothing and starving. I heard that the victims under the rule of the Chen family are all living and working in peace and contentment, so I came here to ask for relief. Chen Gu had a blank expression on his face, and served water and tea. Chen Jing said, the leader of your Huayan society is called Li, right? Is he from the Mi family in the inner city? No, he is just a remote branch of the Mi family. He has been farming for 3 generations, and has nothing to do with us. Oh, I always feel that this name is a little familiar. Chen Jing touched his chin and said, may I ask, President Mi, a poor peasant, why do you care so much about disaster relief? Of course, like the second young master, I care about the people. Ha 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 ha. Chen Jing was amused. He cares about the people. Doesn't he know it himself? Caring about the people is just one of the motives for his current behavior. There are many other motives. It can be said that any motive alone is not enough to do what he did today, but all the motives combined together have led to today. Moreover, a lot of money has been staked. What is the basis for Huayan? Seeing Chen Jing laughing, the messenger thought he had touched Chen Jing's heart and laughed too. How much do you want? Chen Jing asked. Food. The messenger said a series of numbers seriously. Chen Jing listened for a while, and didn't take it to heart. He translated it into 4 words. You support me. No wonder the third sister was indignant, and said it was robbery. Even a 10-year-old girl could see it. Moreover, how could he support so many people out of thin air? It was already a bit difficult to support the existing people, and the management problem made his old father's hair turn white. What if I give it to you? What if I don't? Chen Jing asked calmly. It's just a fight for a glimmer of life for the victims of the Huayan society. No matter what, it's all up to the Chen family. Okay. Chen Jing took a sip of tea, and put the teacup down heavily. See you out. Haha. The Huayan messenger slowly raised his head, and his respectful expression turned into sarcasm. I thought that the second son of Chen was also a great official who was dedicated to the people. Now it seems that he is just a villain who makes money from disasters. Yes, I have made you see it clearly. Chen Jing was not angry at all, but admitted calmly. Get out if you understand. Understand? Bah. The messenger spat out a mouthful of thick phlegm in public. Provocatively met the angry eyes of the crowd, turned around and swaggered away. Chen Jing raised his hand to stop the people who couldn't hold back their anger. Brother, go and tell father that no one in our family should go out in a big way recently. Are you going to fight? He asked for a high price when he came to my house, and he refused to negotiate the price even after I refused. And judging from his appearance, he probably wants to die here. He just wants to fight. If you want to fight, then fight. Why bother? Anger will burn rationality, and there is a kind of group that is more brainless and more destructive. Chen Jing stood up and walked out the door. It seems that we have to deal with this nest of lunatics as soon as possible. Chapter 72 Home. Chen Jing didn't understand why he, a farmer, was always fighting and killing every day. The key was that he was so weak. It was because his opponents were not very strong that he could barely stand here. With a feeling about his own fate, he walked into the wind and snow alone. I hope that, after solving the Huayan society, I can plant the land well. With a large formation to solve the climate problem, planting with all my strength may solve the problem of the victims. After the winter, the follow-up situation will get better and better. The Chinese New Year is coming soon. After the Spring Festival, it will be the Qingnang sect's disciple recruiting ceremony. I hope that they will have opened the black box of the Fengshan sect by then. There are goo in it. If they continue to raise them, they will die. Chen Jing followed the Huayin messenger from a distance, still thinking about the follow-up. Suddenly, the messenger disappeared. Chen Jing was startled, and the master sacrificed the chili sword without hesitation. At the same time, the Yunnan Huan Kang technique was fully exerted, and the clouds and mist instantly covered the whole place. The voice of the messenger came. Second master, why do you have to come here politely? Please stay. The strange power instantly penetrated the illusion barrier, and landed directly on Chen Jing. He was immediately unable to move. I also have 2 swords, which are specially used to kill those who are disloyal and unfilial. In an instant, one sharp blade said, loyalty. The other sharp blade said, filial piety. Completely ignoring the cover of the mist illusion, it attacked Chen Jing's body directly, and the sharpness of the sword pointed directly at his body, making him feel like he was cut into several pieces by the 2 swords. He was unable to move, but it did not hinder his sword control. At the critical moment, all distracting thoughts disappeared, and the Daozuan crossing yin technique controlled the chili sword and the spare Kangfeng sword to attack head-on, directly crushing the sword of loyalty and filial piety that stabbed him. Then the Kangfeng sword returned to defense, and the chili sword turned into a burning giant bird of fire, pitching and sprinting away. Boom! The chili sword's own magic exploded into a red cloud all over the sky. Chen Jing heard the other party cough, but it didn't seem to be seriously injured. Sure enough, the messenger took a few breaths and recovered. Second young master's flying sword is really good. No wonder he can make such an aim at such a young age. Unfortunately, it's a little short of keeping me here. If you have the guts, chase me. Ha ha ha. The messenger opened his hands, and the mysterious power gathered into the wings of a bird. It flapped its wings and flew away. Run. Chen Jing put his left hand behind his back and held up his right hand. The sword hidden in his palm was suspended and vibrated. Huge spiritual power was continuously injected. The light blue screen flashed. Daozuan crossing Yinshu +1. Go. The long hair was blown up by the strong wind. In an instant, a black stream of light cut through the sky. Puff a touch of red blood bloomed in the sky, and the 2 wings were cut off on the spot. Ah! The messenger let out a short and painful howl. Don't worry, there's more. The red chili sword appeared in Chen Jing's palm again, and the burning spiritual power was stimulated, causing the air around the flying sword to distort vaguely. Swish, the red streamer flew away again. At this moment, a figure suddenly blocked the messenger and shouted, Master! Boom, dust rose up. The man took the sword with his body, but he just shook and immediately fled with the messenger. Perhaps he should no longer be called a messenger, because the person who blocked the sword shouted master in a hurry. I wonder who it is. It turns out to be Meili himself. Chen Jing flew over with a sword, watching Meili being rescued, and the figure that fled as fast as a meteor snorted in his heart. I didn't expect that this so-called messenger was Meili, the master of Huayin society. As a boss, he entered the enemy camp alone, swaggered in and swaggered away. Even as an opponent, he was choked by this guy's audacity. Who do you look down on? But this wave is not a loss. Not only did he know some of Meili's methods, but he also taught this guy a profound lesson. Then Chen Jing's face was a little strange. The person who finally blocked my flying sword was Jing Chan. I must have seen it wrong. How did these 2 get together? Master, are you okay? I'll go find some medicine. Jing Chan supported Meili with concern, and his look of heartache did not seem fake. It's okay, kid. Meili opened his mouth and blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. He smiled bitterly, with self-blame, and a mixture of stubbornness, which finally turned into concern for Jing Chan. You are the one, are you okay? This guy's flying sword is so terrifying that he actually used his body to block it. I'm fine. Jing Chan shook his head repeatedly. Master, don't worry about me, you need to heal. After that, he took Meili back to the base camp. The people of the Huayin society watched Jing Chan bring Meili back, and they surrounded him. When they saw that Meili was seriously injured, they couldn't help but get angry. Master, who did it? How dare the Chen family hurt you? Master is injured. Everyone seemed to explode, filled with righteous indignation, and many people even showed a tendency to turn into tree people. Cough. Mealy spat out a mouthful of old blood, his face sad. I failed to bring back food. I'm sorry, everyone. Cough cough. He coughed out a few more mouthfuls of old blood. Everyone worriedly asked him to rest and treat him, but Mealy still held on, full of sadness, guilt, tears in his eyes, and a haggard and painful look. I thought that the people of the Chen family were quite kind, and they would lend me some food for my old face and repeated requests. I never thought that the Chen family would not only not give me a penny, but also kill me. If Jing-chan hadn't come, I would definitely not be able to come back this time. It's all because of my incompetence. I went on a personal mission, and ended up like this. As Mealy cried bitterly, the surrounding Huayan society members actually covered their faces and cried. One person beat his chest, and stamped his feet. I want to avenge Brother Mealy. Revenge. As soon as these words came out, the emotions that everyone had nowhere to vent seemed to find an outlet in an instant. The anger began to spread at an alarming speed, and began to burn. At this moment, Mealy suddenly stood up and roared at the top of his lungs. Shut up. Everyone was stunned. Revenge. What revenge? In my Huayan society, we are all brothers and sisters. We are all close relatives. What's wrong with being humiliated for our close relatives, and shedding blood for our close relatives? The Chen family is quite powerful, and Chen Jing for his sword is as sharp as a sword fairy. How many brothers and sisters will be sacrificed to avenge me? It is impossible that more close relatives will bleed, and more limbs will be broken because of me. As he said this, he coughed and vomited blood. Everyone was in tears, and had to agree, but they clenched their fists. Jing-chan on the side fell silent. He took good care of Mealy respectfully, up and down, and served him attentively, as if he were his own child. He did not leave quietly until Mealy fell asleep. I didn't want to ask about the right and wrong of this world, but Mealy treats me like a son. Everyone treats me like a close relative. I also regard Mealy as a father, and regard Huayan society as my home. Jing-chan slowly walked out of the Huayan society's residence, and looked up at the waning moon in the sky. He was illuminated by the light of the treasure mirror, and thought he would die. Unexpectedly, he escaped with his life. At that time, he was thrown outside the city as a corpse. It was the people of Huayan society who found that he was still alive, and tried their best to rescue him. During the period of recuperation in Huayan society, Jing-chan saw the people of Huayan society getting along with each other. Although they were not related by blood, they were still like close relatives. They were harmonious with each other. Everyone had great love, and everyone could sacrifice themselves for the family. It shocked him greatly. Deep in his heart, he actually had the idea of staying. Mealy saw his intentions, and asked him what he thought in person. Then, under Mealy's hosting, and the gaze of everyone in Huayan society, he held the initiation ceremony. He regained the family affection that he thought he had completely lost, and found his initial touch. People's pain often originates from childhood, and is rooted in the family. Unfortunately, people cannot choose where they are born, nor can they choose their family. But at this moment, Jing-chan has a choice. Huayan society is a home where he can try his best to love, and enjoy being loved. From now on, he will no longer care about the past, and will spend the rest of his life for his family. He is reborn. Chapter 73. Chen Jing asked. Hua Qingsha sat down beside Chen Jing, after he came back, with a sullen expression and curiosity in her heart. Want some candy? I'm not a child. Chen Jing looked at her speechlessly. The girl squatted in front of him with her knees together, her eyes sparkling like autumn water, her eyebrows slightly raised, and she waved the dogtail grass in front of him. This is not candy either. But he felt better for some reason. Chen Jing asked, Teachers you are knowledgeable, and you may be able to see what kind of magical power the Huayan society is using. You can restrain my actions with words alone, and ignore my illusions. He roughly described the information about Mealy. Hua Qingsha lived up to his expectations. After a little thought, he made a guess. From what you said, Mealy's cultivation should be a method to gather faith and will. In fact, this method is involved in all major sects and ways. I have also taught you. However, it is basically useless for small sects or individuals to practice, because there are not enough people to believe in it. In times of chaos, there are many evil cultivators who take advantage of the situation and use this method to gather faith and will. This method often has the ability to speak and act according to the will of heaven. As long as the will is sufficient, every word and action will have great power. Chen Jing nodded. The evil cultivator turned out to be me. Is there a good way to deal with this kind of evil cultivator? First, break its foundation. The evil cultivator's seizure of faith and will is often not what the real people want. You only need to find a flaw to make their faith sever, and then you can easily defeat the opponent. There is no way. Chen Jing shook his head. The evil cultivators preaching is not because they have some clever tricks. If they really have this ability, they can still walk smoothly on the righteous path. The other party is just taking advantage of the weaknesses of people's hearts. To put it bluntly, the people of Huayan society are deceiving themselves. They are willing to immerse themselves in the pie they have drawn, and even resist being exposed by others. When the cult was at its most fanatical, even if gods came, they could not save it. They could only wait for time to pass, and it would collapse on its own. Second, kill its leader. The evil cultivator himself is the biggest weakness. Moreover, this kind of inexperienced evil cultivator lacks experience in fighting, and is easy to sneak attack. I tried it just now, and both he and I almost lost our lives. I won't do it again, if I'm not completely sure. Chen Jing shook his head again. The opponent can ignore illusions. This means that both of them have the ability to kill each other in seconds, which is too scary. In the previous battle, he was lucky that he had done a good job of pretending to be powerful and scared the opponent away. To be honest, he also wanted to turn around and run away. 3. One word: delay. The path of evil cultivation is full of traps. Sooner or later, they will kill themselves. But the foundation of the Chen family here will probably suffer a lot of losses. If I can delay until winter is over, my secret method will be completed, and my injuries will be completely healed. Then I can do it myself. Chen Jing pondered for a long time, and was reluctant to express his opinion. Obviously, he was not convinced yet. He asked, I forgot to ask Teacher Zaya how to break through to the Zuan stage. As long as I can upgrade, it would be great to pierce that bastard's heart with a sword from 800 miles away. The Zuan period requires some accumulation, not in terms of cultivation, but in terms of experience. The disciples accepted by the Qingnang sect have all 9 orifices, but it often takes 5 or 6 years before they can be promoted. Oh. The 9th orifice of the Tanqiao period is to ask the heart of Tao. Once you understand it, you will naturally do it. What do you want to do? How do you think you can do it? And by what means? If you have the Tao in your heart, you can resonate with the Tao, so that you can achieve unity between man and nature, and condense the foundation of the Zuan Tao. I remember you once said that when you went down the mountain, you were thinking about protecting your family and relatives. When you made a name for yourself and no one dared to offend the Chen family, your thoughts were clear and your heart of Tao was transparent. But is the Chen family safe now? Not safe. That's it. The heart of Tao is the heart of Tao. You just know what you really want, but you haven't figured out how to do it. My master said, when he taught me, that you have to learn to assume at this time. You also try to assume. If you have excellent aptitude for cultivation, and make rapid progress, can you keep the Chen family safe? If you are the richest man in the world, can you keep the Chen family safe? They all thought that their own path should be to go to the city and become a master, and then go a step further and become a greater master, and become an immortal master. After becoming an immortal, something must have gone wrong. Suddenly, the aura bloomed in the distance and flashed away. Chen Jing frowned. You are looking for trouble very quickly. He glanced at the busy people around him and still walked out of the formation and followed the guidance of the aura. In the snow, Jing Chan stood there, facing the cold wind, his face calm. Yo. Chen Jing hugged his arms as a greeting. Go further. I don't want to accidentally hurt the ordinary people nearby. Jing Chan said seriously. When did you still care about the ordinary people? Chen Jing was very surprised. Unfortunately, Jing Chan didn't mean to answer, but just walked towards the desolate place step by step. One in front and one behind. They walked for dozens of miles. Chen Jing, we have had some grievances in the past. We have fought several times, and you have always had the upper hand. Our grievances have not yet ended, but I have died once, and I have thought through some things, and don't want to care about it anymore. But after all, I provoked you first. You can attack me at will, and it's considered to be a grievance. You called me out from a distance just to say this? Yes. Jing Chan took off his shirt and turned around. No matter how you attack me today, I will never fight back, or dodge until you are willing to stop. Chen Jing looked around. There was no one. After a careful investigation with his spiritual sense, there was no sign of an ambush. You have changed. You are no longer the Jing Chan who killed people like crazy and climbed up. Chen Jing said. No matter how high or far you climb, you can't get what you want. I used to think that, as long as I had the strongest power, I would not be helpless, but in fact, it would only make me farther away from important things. I didn't understand these principles before, but now I have understood them. Jing Chan said calmly. Oh. Then what is the important thing? Don't tell me. Is it me, Li? I regard him as my father. Chen Jing frowned. After carefully identifying it, and finding that he really didn't mean to joke, he felt a little uneasy. That thing is okay to fool ordinary people. But you are practicing. You hurt me, Li, and became the dark cloud of who I am in society. After you and I have settled our past grievances today, I will come to find you again in the future. Then, we will fight to the death. Jing Chan said lightly. If you want to settle our past grievances, there is no need to be so troublesome. Chen Jing threw over a jade tube. It was the thing that Hua Qingsha gave him to reflect the true heart of the evil cultivator. He thought it was a useless thing, but it might be of some use. Practice this secret method, and see what your new father is like. If you still want to fight, I will accompany you at any time. Chapter 74. The world is like a well. Chen Jing's sword control skills have been improving, but not qualitatively. His previous sword was blocked by Jing Chan's body, and he was not sure he could kill him. Especially since Jing Chan had an attitude of let you fight if you want. It would be embarrassing if he didn't kill him. So, he pretended to be a master, and delayed for a while. It would be better if he could alienate the father and son. Now, the only thing that can break Jing Chan's physical defense should be the inner city's city protection treasure. Most of them fell into the inner city. My capable outsourcing Ying Huayan has no news either. Although I don't need the talisman array now, I should also find one or two to confirm life and death. Chen Jing returned immediately. He asked Hua Qingsha to learn the secret method of treasure hunting, and then he set off for the inner city without stopping. Secret methods are difficult and easy. The secret method of finding the city protection treasure belongs to a particularly easy category. Its real bottleneck lies in the medium, that is, the small green bottle used by Hua Qingsha. 90% of the technology is on the small green bottle. Drop the liquid and ignite it with the secret method. Then, the invisible traction established a connection through the flame in the palm. Chen Jing followed the induction and stopped outside the door of a simple courtyard. It should have fallen into this family. He stood at the door, thinking about the dialogue, after knocking on the door. Suddenly, the door opened. On the stone steps in front of the courtyard, the woman's fingers stroked the red lacquer in front of the door, and walked out from behind the red mottled door. Her hair was soft, dancing in the wind like black clouds, and her eyes were like jade stones in autumn water, clear and calm. Looking at the woman in white who was staring at him, Chen Jing didn't react for a while. Ying Huayan? Come. Ying Huayan raised her thin eyebrows slightly, as if she smiled, but it seemed like an illusion. The door closed. There was a dry peach tree in the courtyard. The leaves had fallen off, leaving only bare branches, which was ugly. No one cleaned the dead leaves in the courtyard, and it was a bleak scene. Chen Jing's expression was subtle, as if he had entered the dormitory of the women's university. Do you live alone? Yes. Then my father came back, and lived here for a while. Your father? Is he here? He just died a few days ago. That's good. Chen Jing nodded, then shook his head repeatedly, and said in panic, No, I didn't mean that. It doesn't matter, I killed him. Chen Jing paused, and his eyes began to look in other directions, ready to escape over the wall or hide underground at any time. Then he saw the treasure mirror worn by Ying Huayan's waist. The treasure mirror seemed to sense his gaze and suddenly flashed, with a clear threatening meaning. He immediately gave up the idea of escaping, and followed behind obediently. Life is really full of surprises. Don't scare him. Aang Huayan took off the treasure mirror and said with a frown. The treasure mirror flashed reluctantly. It was threatened by Hua Kingsha before, and it held a grudge in its heart. After recognizing Chen Jing, it wanted to scare him back, but in fact it could only scare him. Are you back to find it? Aang Huayan asked. I'm also here to find you. Chen Jing just finished speaking. The treasure mirror suddenly flashed non-stop, quite spiritual, even without specific words. People can't know what it means. Don't believe this man's lies. Aang Huayan seemed to be smiling and slapped it casually, covering the treasure mirror, making it extinguish. I know who you want to use it against, but Jing Chan is a little special. I used the treasure mirror to shine on him, but failed to get rid of him. Is he so powerful? Chen Jing's eyes widened. This treasure mirror is not an ordinary treasure. It was left here by the founder of the King Nang sect. In the absence of anyone refining it, it can only kill specific targets, demons, ghosts, or extremely evil people. What Jing Chan did should be enough to kill him. He died, but his essence is the reincarnation of the true spirit of a saint. The treasure mirror dare not move, and it cannot move. It can only kill his anger, which is considered to be a death for him. Reincarnation. Chen Jing was speechless for a while. The reincarnation of a saint, what is this? And it doesn't look like a demon at all. It's more like a demon. The disaster in Anning Mansion is also related to him. I just don't know whether the disaster was created by the people behind the scenes for Jingchen, or whether Jingchen was reincarnated because of this disaster. So I can't kill him. Of course I can. A born saint may not necessarily become a saint again. The treasure mirror says that a saint who achieves success after birth is more rare than a reincarnated true spirit. This born saint is dead. After hearing this, he felt more at ease. As long as there is a blood bar, it will be fine. Chen Jing said, how should I kill him? Aang Huayan pondered for a long time. I can't tell you clearly. How about this? After getting the treasure mirror, it told me a lot of things. I will tell you the whole story of this period. Maybe it will be helpful to you. Okay. Everything may have to start with my father Aang Chen Dao. As she spoke, Chen Jing only then understood the various changes in the city when he was farming on King Niu Mountain. After Anning Mansion was locked in a black box, the sudden collapse of the Mi family caused the upper structure to lose stability, and then the cultivation forces in the middle layer lost control and attacked each other. The weakest and least cared for common people, however, have the power to resist because of the distorted spores planted in them. It just so happens that they are on the verge of death. The upper class continues to collapse, the middle class continues to fight, and the lower class rises up, which eventually leads to the current scene of total collapse. Among them, the stability of the inner city's wealthy families is crucial. Although they exploit, they are not excessive. After a long period of game and evolution, all parties are at the limit of balance. The so-called limit balance is actually equivalent to locking the upper limit. This upper limit is not only the development of the lower class at the upper limit, but also the exploitation of the wealthy families. For example, the Chen family pays 70% of the rent. Why not 60%? Because the wealthy families want more. And why not 80%, 90%, or even a direct merger? Do you really think it can't be done? It can be done, but it is not done. The reason is simple. It is not worth it. The wealthy families want to collect 71% of the rent. If they collect even a little more, the final result will only be that the actual amount they get is less than 70% of the original. Want to collect 80% of the rent, but the actual amount is less than 60%. Direct merger? Well, the actual amount is less than 40%. It's a thankless job. As the saying goes, you have unpaid overtime. I have paid shit, paid fishing, high failure rate. I can always make the exploiters spit out the profits they have worked hard to exploit in various losses. With the supervision of the King Nang sect, the wealthy families dare not engage in non-violent non-cooperation. Collect 70%, and in the name of trading, this is the best situation formed after a long game and repeated tugs, and everyone can accept it. The wealthy families have set a fixed upper limit for exploitation. Small cultivation families, ordinary landlords, and ordinary people also live in their own not so high upper limits. The ubiquitous rules formed over a long period of time have bound everyone in Anning Mansion within the small square of the rules, leaving almost no room for change. Rules are the skeleton of human society. It must not be perfect, but it must exist. No matter how deformed it is better to have it than not to have it. The nobles are the biggest implementers and defenders of the rules of Anning Mansion, and they are the bones themselves. When this bone was taken away all of a sudden, oh, it's over. Everything that was originally in extreme balance within the rules was instantly crushed and twisted into a ball. Chen Jing is the one who wantonly smashed the bones of Anning Mansion. Because of his behavior, Anning Mansion completely collapsed, and countless people and families died because of him. If he could become a better bone, this bloodshed and sacrifice would not be a bad thing, but unfortunately, he is not. In his eyes, only his invincible cultivation and status are the most important, so he is destined to be only a more deformed bone. I have always expected the nobles to be destroyed, but not in this way, and not to let a worse noble replace everything that exists. So Chen Jing must die. Huayan said this. Suddenly asked a question. There is a person who has always wanted to do the same thing as my father. Guess who it is? Jing Chan. Chen Jing answered without hesitation. After listening to the description of Chen Jing, he found that Jing Chan and Chen Jing were simply carved from the same mold. What about you? Huayan suddenly leaned forward and looked into his eyes. Have you ever thought that becoming the strongest can solve all problems? Yes. There was a time when he was furious and full of evil. Chen Jing thought about replacing hybrid spores on a large scale, controlling all the people to become tree people, and killing whoever he was unhappy with. After killing those who didn't obey, he would farm well. And the plan was implemented by 90%, but he didn't take the last step. Except for the old man Qi who should have died, he didn't take the initiative to let anyone become a tree person. I'm not blaming you for anything, but I want to tell you. In fact, many people have this idea in their hearts. As long as they get invincible power, they can turn around and solve the problem properly, but after reaching that step, can they still turn back? Huayan meant something. Chen Jing actually had a more abstract modern understanding of her words. Day 1, I'm a superman. Day 2, I'm a native. Day 3, I don't eat beef. Chen Jing looked at the treasure mirror. He vaguely realized that Huayan was instructing him to practice, but her cultivation was not high either, so it might be the guidance of the treasure mirror. It could also be said to be a warning. Don't follow in the footsteps of those two. I understand, but... Chen Jing scratched his head and asked, are we off topic? I still haven't figured out how to kill Jing Chan. Look. Huayan poured out some tea, dipped his index finger in the water, and wrote the word well. The rules of the world are never horizontal or vertical, but there are horizontal and vertical, and then just right. People are framed inside and trapped inside. After saying that, he blinked, meaning that the reminder ended here. Well. Chen Jing murmured a few words, his eyes getting brighter and brighter. Looking at the word well on the table again, he already understood what Huayan meant. The first side of the rule is to trap people's bodies to death. Plain violence and high pressure, and pure fists are big and hard enough. This rule refers to Jing Chan and Chen Jing. Before died once, they tried to stand at the top of the rule by mastering more powerful violence. The second side of the rules is the so-called love, that is, family. Humans are social animals, and the first social emotion of human beings is family affection. Country is country, and family comes before country. Only by understanding family can we understand the country and more social relationships. The king is the father, the king is the father. Only by understanding the father can we understand the king, and knowing filial piety can we further understand loyalty and other emotions through the binding of the king and the father. Therefore, the Confucianism of the earth, in all dynasties, has respected filial piety. In some dynasties, where rituals and music were broken, the respect for filial piety reached a magical and perverted level. If you are unfilial, no matter what your ability is, you will always have your name on the pillar of shame. Because family affection and family are the origin and foundation of all spiritual rules. Maintaining filial piety is to maintain rules, imperial power and rule. Rules are composed of these two parts, physical rules and spiritual rules, two horizontal and two vertical, like a well. fixing people in it. No wonder Huayan emphasized the scene of patricide. I thought she had some special hobby. It turned out that she wanted to tell me that it was not the destructive power of the treasure mirror that killed Jingchen, but the family affection in Jingchen's heart that was aroused by the scene of patricide. So, what killed family affection? Chen Jing thought of this and felt inexplicably depressed. Deep in his heart, he was very reluctant to touch the string of family affection. Since he came to this world and was born, he has been loved by his relatives. This is something that he has never felt as an orphan in his previous life. He is not a fool. He even has memories of his previous life. If it is not real love, how can he be full of earthly dirty words, afraid that others don't know that he is abnormal, only because he can clearly feel from every detail that the Chen family is safe and one with himself, whether in terms of emotion or interests, they are inseparable. Will he relax? Chen Jing suddenly realized something. Is Jingchen lacking love? Inspiration ran through his body in an instant. This kid, there must be something wrong with his childhood. Chen Jing slapped the table and stood up suddenly. Huayan, I'm going out for a while. Do you have any clues? Yes, I'm going to the Yang family's base. I hope Jingchen's biological father and third brother are still alive. I need to ask some questions. Tomorrow Jingchen will come to compete with me. I have to find his weakness as soon as possible. I wish you all the best. Seeing Chen Jing not looking back, he raised his hand and waved and strode away. Eyeing Huayan finally showed a clear smile on his face. But the treasure mirror flashed. It seemed to say, don't be too happy too early. No, I believe he can win, and then truly walk out of his own saintly path. You ask why? Because when he urges fines, obtains food for disaster victims, and makes rune formations at a loss, he feels happy from the heart. But how do I know? I just know. At the same time, in the Huayan Club's base, Jingchen returned silently. He did not tell anyone about the battle with Chen Jing, because he didn't want everyone to worry about him. At this time, he suddenly remembered what Chen Jing said, so he took out the J-tube and stuck it between his eyebrows. Secret method, judging the heart. Those who practice the power of vows must be connected with each other and treat others with sincerity. Even if the evil cultivators use deception and cunning to collect the power of vows, they must reveal their true nature and heart. This method can be used to judge their true nature when the evil cultivators practice a long list of introductions and a lot of descriptions. In fact, it is just in a chart of looking at key. Jing Chan learned it after a casual glance, but did not use it to judge Meili, because it would be disrespectful to Meili. But he thought about it. Tomorrow he will fight to the death with Chen Jing. After all, it has been agreed. It is better to fulfill the agreement. He also believes in Meili's character. So he came to Meili's healing place, quietly used the secret method. His eyes were like a mirror. In the mirror, Meili's true nature was clearly reflected on it. Chapter 75. You still have to practice. Meili is different from ordinary cattle and horses. He has the same surname as the Mi family, a wealthy family in the inner city. Although they are a branch of a branch of a branch, they can still get some extra support from the clan. For example, he can go to the clan school and study with children of the same surname, so he is actually a scholar. Books contain golden houses and beautiful women. Meili learned about the past and recognized his environment through reading. This is a stable era, but also a stagnant era. Dragons give birth to dragons, phoenixes give birth to phoenixes, and mice's sons can dig holes. But Meili is obviously not a scholar who is content with the status quo. He yearns for the magnificent and wonderful world in the books, and feels very depressed by the endless labor in the world day after day. He wants to change. In Anning Mansion, there is only half a way for cattle and horses to climb up, practicing martial arts. If you have excellent talent, you can become a practitioner through martial arts, and then you can achieve your own class transition. But this path is not something that ordinary people can take. It should be said that only landlord families and wealthy business families in the ordinary world are qualified to take it. The poor in literature and the rich in martial arts are not just talk. Meili felt that this era was terrible. In the Divine Dynasty in the book, people could still study and take the imperial examinations and change their fate with knowledge, but now, they can't turn over at all. He was unwilling to accept it numbly. Every time he was hurt, the books he had read would appear in his mind. He repeatedly pondered every word and sentence in the book. On a night when he tossed and turned and couldn't sleep, he had a flash of inspiration. Filial piety. Although the divine dynasty collapsed, its spiritual culture was still passed down, and the way of loyalty and filial piety seemed to be the basic rules today. Mealy realized it. He wanted to become famous. After becoming famous for filial piety, he would no longer be an ordinary farmer's son, and in the future, there might be many more opportunities. This was the only possibility of climbing up that he could see. But in this era, every household pays attention to filial piety. It is easy to get a good reputation by filial piety, but it is not easy to become famous by it. Therefore, it is not an ordinary filial piety. It must be extremely filial. It makes people dumbfounded and shocked when they hear it. So, Mealy understood the magic skill of traffic star creation without a teacher. Let mosquitoes suck blood, taste feces and worry, bury the child for the mother, one by one. He read ancient books, found many cases, and personally designed many outrageous plots, and began his own journey of filial piety. From youth to adulthood, from being alone to marrying and having children. After decades of marketing, Mealy has become a well-known moral benchmark. With the name of extreme filial piety, he can run rampant. Bandits dare not use weapons when they see him. Bullies have to hide when they see him. Respected elders dare not take advantage of their seniority, and the high and mighty master invites him as a guest of honor. Mealy only needs one word to nail someone to the pillar of shame, and he can't turn over. This is the power of social rules. Until the disaster came, others saw suffering, but he saw opportunities. Everyone worships the gods in the temple. He, Mealy, wants to become the god of the new world. Brother Chan, why do you look absent-minded? A middle-aged man with grey hair asked with a smile. However, Jing Chan, with empty eyes, seemed not to hear his words, but just walked forward blankly. In his mind, everything he saw with the secret method of heart inspection was still echoing. His originally peaceful heart seemed to be emptied in an instant, and some kind of empty and terrible thing spread all over his body, making him at a loss. Brother Chan, the man shouted loudly, and finally brought Jing Chan back to his senses. What happened? Tell me. Jing Chan didn't know this man. But it's like this in the Huayan society. Everyone is brothers and sisters, so there is no need to care so much. Jing Chan hesitated to speak. Although he saw Mealy's true face, he had no intention of leaving the Huayan society, or rather, he had not figured out what to do. Brother, if I say something bad about Mealy, when the Huayan society was founded, many people came with false feelings, but we don't care. What surprised Jing Chan was that he looked like he was going to have something against Mealy, but the man in front of him did not respond. Since you said that you will treat me as your closest relative, I will not regret it. Whether that person is you, him, or Mealy, it's all fine. Even if you betray me, I will not complain. I would rather someone betray me than betray someone else. The man's eyes were deep, as if there was a vortex in his heart, pulling him down. Jing Chan's heart trembled. He didn't quite understand, but it seemed like something was breaking. His breathing became rapid unconsciously. I have something else to do. Jing Chan hurriedly left here, as if he was escaping. Looking back, the place that gave him his home actually felt suffocating at this time. He went straight to the outside of the Chen family formation and spread his breath. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Get rid of Chen Jing quickly, and everything will be restored. Then a woman in green came out, and looked him up and down with curiosity. May I ask where Chen Jing is? Chen Jing went to Hualien Lake. Go there to find him. Hua Qingsha waved her hand and turned back. Hualien Lake? How did he run to the old place of the Jing family? Jing Chan didn't want to think too much. At this time, his mind was very confused, and he just wanted to use something to block his thoughts. He ran all the way. His expression was sometimes painful, sometimes confused, and his steps were messy. Finally, back to the place where the Jing family used to be. Soon he found Chen Jing, who was standing by the lake, his clothes fluttering, his long hair dyed with snow, his eyes calmly looking at the lake, his hands behind his back admiring the beautiful scenery in the lake. Chen Jing, I'm here. You shouldn't come. Why shouldn't I come? Are you afraid? TSK, what kind of natural saint is this? The words don't even make sense. The veins on Chen Jing's forehead were faintly throbbing. Turned around. Huh. It's okay. When I publish my autobiography, I'll hire a storyteller to polish this part. What the hell are you talking about? Never mind. Let's fight. Jing Chan had been depressed for a long time, and he started with a shocking punch. A huge spiritual power rose from behind him, and the essence combined with it, outlining a half-Buddha, half-demon phantom. With a certain sense of immortality, the fist like a diamond came like a broken bamboo. Boom! Chen Jing turned into fragments and dissipated on the spot. The fist did not stop, overwhelming the entire reed and raising waves several meters long. Where are the people? It was the first time that Jing Chan had a direct fight with Chen Jing, but he didn't know that he was so powerful in illusion. Because those who knew were already dead, and Meili, who was not dead, was not a serious practitioner, so he focused on the flying sword and didn't notice the illusion. Jing Chan realized that at the same time as he hit the phantom, the outline of a human figure appeared behind him. Here it is. Chen Jing twisted his neck, stretched his muscles, and made the sound of frying beans. His martial arts energy was like a furnace burning, and the smoke was rising to the sky. The true form of martial arts. He grabbed Jing Chan's neck with his big hand and held him tightly like an iron clamp. Bang! He grabbed Jing Chan and swung him like a rag doll. He slammed his head hard on the blue stone slab by the lake. You still have to practice. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.